Cool, man. Cool. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to my boys here. Welcome to the Broskiedoodles podcast. This is Stevie D. As always, Kiko Flo in the building, but especially today we have my dear friend, wanted in a couple different states, but we won't talk about that here today unless he feels comfortable. Eric Gill, a shaper of young minds and just an awesome guy to be around. What's up, man? Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, y'all? Thanks for having me on. I love this thing. I love this whole setup here, dog. I'm just so excited and honored to be here. This is fantastic.
Awesome, man. We're really glad to have you.
We're glad to have you here, bro. And we've been talking about having you on for a while. When Steven told me about it, I was like super excited. We know you as a funny guy for a minute, so we're super excited. I think more than you for you to be here and just talk about regular things. One topic that Steven has been bugging me about for a minute is talking about Giants, right?
The Giants,
great basketball team. No, wait, baseball team and football team.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just crazy. Different coasts. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, those little kids that just beat up on the Cowboys. How they won that game. It just inspired my entire life. Anytime I feel like I want to give up, I think of the kid that blew a snot bubble. I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it.
You can do it. Absolutely. There's hope for all of us in that case, in that regard.
So I thought something like that, but he was like, no, like giants, like these giant people that lived in the past, man. And I had heard of like, dinosaurs or like Mesopotamia with different civilizations, but he's like, no, giants. I'm like, I've never heard of that shit. But I had just started the podcast recently with Steven, so I wanted to be cool. I didn't want to be the guy to shut down the topics, supposed to be like a team thing. So I was just like, yeah, we'll talk about the Giants. And he just kept, repeating it. I'm just like, what the fuck is
so I know you guys want to hate right now, but I'm going to send you both a link. And I want you guys to kind of just watch it. And let me know what you think. It's going to be in this little chatty chat right here.
Okay.
So just go ahead.
And what we're really talking about here, and these are like not even just giants amongst us now. It's like ancient giants, like people back in the day.
Yeah.
Well,
At first, I thought he meant people that had like a growth spur and were like 8 feet, but no, like straight up Hulk giants, or even bigger.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll tell you why I found this to be interesting and where they come from. But watch the video.
All right, let's watch it at the same time. Let me know when you're ready to press play on that.
Yeah, let's go 3, 2, 1.
We're here in the great South African plains, where we see two people wondering why there is a drone footage being taken and if they should be running. Yeah, this is a beautiful landscape here. That's all I can say right now. For all the people listening at home that doesn't have video, beautiful desert landscape. We got some.
We're probably gonna end up
on the camera.
Oh yeah, no, this is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
But check this out.
Oh, there's a big footprint there in the wall. I see what's up. Yeah, I got mine on mute, so I just see a guy with like a dad hat on. He's got like the side, like he's about to play a villain in an Indiana Jones film. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he looks like right now.
Like right after fly fishing or something.
Yeah, like I was fly fishing and I just see this foot in the South African rock and I just stop.
Right? He's talking about basically how there's the exact same size, the exact opposite foot, like the right, the left. We'll probably end up just putting that playing while we're if you're watching the YouTube video.
I'm actually I got it. It's all this
is how the wormhole starts right now. Hippos attack crocodiles, defend den companion. Guys, do you want to go on task or off task? That's what I need to know.
Stay on task.
Don't go down the wormhole, man. Don't start.
So give us the basics, Steven, on this thing that you've been looking after.
So all right, this goes back into the Bible era. Okay, it's actually the idea of giants, at least some of them that were interpreted to be that way back in these biblical stories of Nephilim. Nephilim is basically I guess a race of people or whatever it was. They were celestial. They were like godly beings, right? And they were the interpretations change obviously depending on on the scripture, there's a bunch of acronyms, the new world, new whatever the F it is, man, it doesn't really matter, fuck it. But that they were big beings among us. They were great beings. And so that's where the idea of giants come from. Coupled that with these, mysteries of life, these myths. Yeah, you start to think, oh wow, was there really giants? Like, are we talking dinosaur era? You know what I mean? Because like, what was really writing stuff back then? So they have also, when you start to look into it, I haven't found any like people who have said that they have found giant structures. Some of those pictures are a little, or not structures, bones, like skeletons. Some of those are a little bit controversial in the sense of like whether they're fake or not. But there are some pretty huge bones in South Africa, predominantly. That's where everything kind of was the center of what was Pangea, Mr. Teacher Man.
Oh man, yeah, that goes back a few chapters that I already forgot, but I'll believe it. It sounds good enough to believe. I don't know.
That's my point.
So you're saying, yeah, that's your argument, Steven? Like, I'm in. Be true. Steven was about to say, like, and to this day, no one has come out saying that this is not real. So, right? I mean, am I right?
They have.
But no, so Steven, I sent him a picture that I found because he was telling me about this topic, and I was like, I never heard of this, and I saw some shit on Facebook that I sent him, and I think it was the Africa picture or of a museum that had the bones. Because the first thing I was going to ask him, I'm like, all right, so why is it that we never found any fucking bones of these giants?
Yeah, it looked like the one that was evolution, right? But like from small to large. Is that the ones that you were referring to, Kiko?
No, ones that it just looked like a place where people find, bones, like an archaeology, caves, and then they found some bones that were pretty big. I'll try to put them on here.
Just show the image when we find it. Yeah.
So, I mean, but in any case, I guess, what other proof do you know of? And Gil, also chip in if you've ever heard of this, because maybe I'm the one that's crazy, but I never heard of giants.
Go ahead, Gil.
Yeah, I can imagine it's true. Like, I know that I took anthropology my first ever summer semester in college. So there's a lot that happens between then and now. So let me just clarify. And what I remember the most from that class is that they would always talk about how everything kind of gets just destroyed over time. Like, even like artifacts, like we're never going to really know the true picture of a lot of these things, which makes it so mysterious, because like some dude is like making a strip ball and they're like, what the heck's this, man? And then they just toss it and they don't realize they're throwing out like an ancient like hominid bone or something like that. They just think it's like a dog that died underneath the fella's, closet. So yeah, it's a fascinating concept in that regard, but I believe it because, I mean, I know that there's been other hominoid species and all those type of things that were competing with Homo sapiens, and especially like back in the day, like way back, a lot of things were huge. Like when you think about dinosaurs and that time, it made sense to be the biggest, the baddest. But once like the climate started changing, like the world started changing a bit, then you saw that it was like helpful to actually be smaller because you didn't have as much calorie demands. So I'm not, when you think about like the megalodon and things like that, like the reason they don't exist a lot of the time is because you need that much energy and that much food. You can only eat so many great white sharks before, you know what I'm saying? Like everything starts running out. Right. So,
well, and also if you go by that logic, let's say that these people outlived the dinosaurs when the Big Bang, or then which that wouldn't make sense because that was a big ass bomb. But without the dinosaurs, I'm guessing they don't have the food that they needed. But one thing that I was thinking is, they had those dinosaurs, and to us they're huge, but maybe they weren't huge. Maybe they were like pets to these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Well, that's that. I mean, right? Like if you
I'm trying to go in it with you guys because I don't think this is true, but you guys are sort of like 5 minutes in, you're like, yeah, I believe this shit. Hell yeah. Makes sense.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, I've seen both sides, and I tend to err on the side that, okay, there's not enough evidence at this point in time to determine that if there's giants or not. But it's such a fun topic to think about because, like, when you start to bring that in with like the pyramids, right? The pyramids are such a great structure, but they laser, like when you start to, the mathematicians start to talk about like the measurements of it and how perfect they are, and you're like, dude, was there like a whole nother like world that
existed before,
just MIB'd your ass like at the right at the start of human I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, human like civilization. Yeah, just like look right here. And it's like, all right,
yeah, we just got
everything there, gone.
Yeah. Steven, you've told me this before, that one of your like strong arguments for this is like, but look at the pyramids. It only makes sense that giants built it. So then they had to live amongst the small people, because, and then what they would grab them and like put them. It's like they were like it's like a little dollhouse. Like imagine the pyramids were like little
Minecraft and shit.
Evil doll houses. This guy, you know. So you're saying the giants and the small ones lived out because they couldn't, right? It would have to be evolution.
I don't know. I like to romanticize the idea of it. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
That would be trippy to see. I mean, we have a tough time like dealing with like tall athletes. I think people still freak out nowadays when people are like 7 foot tall. You imagine if they're like 15. You know? Yeah. Dude, everyone would be asking that they play basketball. Be like, what is that sport? It hasn't been invented yet. Well, you should play it when it comes around because you're 50 foot tall.
Yeah,
you should definitely play it.
It's I mean, they're fucking like, what are they, horseshoeing the goddamn ball over to the net, like from one side of the court?
Yeah, they'd be so big that it'd be harder to just drop it in. Like that's where the task would be. Like that's where the challenge is, if they can drop it on in. But yeah, man, that would be fascinating. Like that idea of like, you know, are they aliens? Because I think that's part of the thing that comes into concept. Like when you think about like them coexisting. But I'm right there with you, Steve, where I think like there's like this whole memory of human civilization that we're just not aware of yet. Like the evidence is gone. It's been like turned over, something like that. And
nobody cared to write it down. It's like, or couldn't, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe
not. Yeah.
We kind of
the belief is that there's been many civilizations that started like ours and then ended, and then thousands of years passed, and then new humans, you know, because there's actual, I mean, the giants thing, I don't know how much actual information there is. That's facts. But there are factual information about a civilization that existed many thousands of years and then it stopped existing. And apparently they got to a point where they were really smart, right? And then they died off. We don't know why. And then when the new humans came, they were not as, you know, they were like more stupid.
Right.
And
that's where we come from.
Yeah. So the question is, do we just keep recycling ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Like, do we just like hit the point? Like, once the internet's made, is it like a countdown before, you know?
Yeah. Like, I think that the game is like, it's very similar in the early stages. And then the part where the aliens are betting money to see what happens is when the civilization gets to the internet. And then nobody knows what the fuck is going to happen. It could last 5 years. It could last 50 years. But they're just waiting to see when that shit's going to blow up.
What's the over-under on us making it to Mars, dog? I don't think they're gonna make it to Mars. It's just like a bunch of people from another galaxy, like that.
Like a Las Vegas betting ring and shit. Fucking no, I got 20 on Earth.
Yeah. Oh fuck! They're taking the oil from Venezuela. This is fucked. They're going in. Aliens just betting in this fucking like one of those speakeasies where they're like hidden doing some illegal shit and they're just betting on what the fuck is going to happen on our civilization. There's another civilization somewhere else. And then we die and then they start again. I mean, it seems that happened for real.
I don't know, man. I mean,
not the alien part.
I was like, I'm trying to follow you here.
Yeah. Hey, but good friend.
Klingon, man.
Shit was real.
Me and this Klingon are tight, dog. We WhatsApp every once in a while because cell service out there is just horrendous.
No, but the civilization there was civilizations that existed, and the tools that they had and things that they found. It could be why the pyramids were built, because that civilization maybe was smart, or maybe it was oppression. A lot of people died building those things, but
yeah, no, I mean there's some crazy feats and stuff like that. Like the other day, I found out that looking that under like around Stonehenge, there's a ton of people like buried under Stonehenge, and it was like apparently people believe that it was like some kind of a meeting ground where trade happened, and like people were finding gold from like different regions of the world embedded in like the jawlines of some of the the skeletons and stuff like that is like kind of crazy to think, because back then there was no cars. Like the travel was like hundreds of miles. Like I don't know. The world was a different place, and we were just scratching the surface on everything. It's insane. But
yeah, I used to talk about it a lot, where it's interesting what we leave behind and what people pick up on. Mm-hmm. Because it's something where like it's hard for us to extrapolate like everything that they were capable of with a little bit of like for Egyptians, all we got is like those paintings, right? Like the hieroglyphics, like it's not even letters, dude. Like it's just like we gotta like essentially decipher when you're like reading a third grader. So like, is this kid depressed? Does this kid try to like talk about how his parents have long hair? I don't know, but it's just something where like we're doing the same thing with the Egyptians, and then I think about like I always extrapolate it to where we are today, where I'm like, are they gonna look at YouTube and then just like see us and be like, there's no way that these people invented satellites. There's no way. Like, look at what they're doing on this thing. Look at what they're doing, bro. So I don't know. I think there's just so much information that can be just like eliminated and still, and just a small part left behind that, I don't know. Like maybe there's more that we were capable of back in the day, and it's just hard to prove it.
Yeah.
I shared a meme today on Facebook, and it was exactly what Eric was talking about. And it was like these two aliens, as if they had just come down to Earth, and without knowing anything, context about human history or anything, they come down and the first thing they see is like Jesus on a cross, and then the aliens are just like, "Yeah, we need to get the fuck out of here." Like,
it's a hot LZ.
You know what I mean? Like, if you get to a planet and you see like a bunch of little guys on a cross, you're like, "Man, this shit looks," it's like getting to an island and like you get to like the place where the cannibals have all this shit set up. You're like, man, fuck this. You see, just
which way is the In-N-Out burger?
Right. Yeah, you get to like a bad gas station, be like, you know what? We'll get our water somewhere else. We'll just get some.
Yeah,
we'll pick up supplies.
I think we have enough gas for the next one.
Yeah, right. Let's keep going.
And dude, if you look at it like with today's example, we don't really do too much gossip on this podcast, but recently there was like this whole issue with Johnny Depp and his ex-wife Amber Heard about her saying that he was hitting her, but then it sort of was the other way around. But apparently they're both toxic. Whatever, that's not the point. The point is, recently on the trial, it came out that at the time that she had certain bruises, it wasn't when she was with Johnny Depp. And there was actually photos of the apartment of Elon Musk while he was going out with her. Like, I guess they were drinking and shit. So Elon Musk was with this girl, right? With Amber Heard, right? And we know how toxic she is from what is seen. And like with aliens coming back and seeing like, okay, so this is the Albert Einstein of today, right? Okay.
Elon Musk.
And he chills with her. And he doesn't want to blow his brains. Like, that's how powerful, like that tells you, maybe it's not the same topic, but that's how powerful women are. Like, she's so fine that he's like, fuck it. I'm gonna be bored for 3 hours, but that would be the example of today. Like seeing Jesus on a cross. Like, your Albert Einstein is with this chick, and he's the guy that's fucking
the shock factor you're talking about. Like whoa.
I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly. Like the fact that it's like, dude, we're like average guys, right? And if we're like with a dumb chick, we're probably gonna be like, yo, this is boring as fuck, right? I don't know how smart she is, but I'm pretty sure that she's average. And this guy is a genius, right? Like, if he was to talk to us, he'll get bored. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Shut the fuck up. Like, this guy's on another level. Like, you know what I mean? So the fact, like, he had to tolerate being with and talking to her about who the fuck knows
Johnny Depp's.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me everything you know about the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, I need to know.
When you chilled on set with him, what was it like?
Or maybe the guy's like a little. Maybe the guy's like it's like a little pimp, you know. Maybe Elon Musk. It's like, hey, girl, so what's good? Johnny Depp is a piece of shit. I'm pretty sure he'll do it again. Like,
yeah,
he was.
Come ride the spaceship.
I'm just saying, the fact that you can be that smart and be on that top level shit, and at the same time fall for the basic temptations of life, lets you know, like, we're simple beings that have animal instincts, and to aliens would probably look very like weak in that sense, you know.
That makes sense. Now I kind of understand that. I mean, what do you think, Eric? We kind of touched upon it, but what do you think of aliens and the whole new shit about off 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 world vehicles? They call them.
You mean I don't even know about off-world. But you're saying like them visiting us and then like, or like them creating civilization for us?
No, just like recently something was released of the off-world vehicle. It's a statement that the government put out that yes, off-world vehicles exist. These vehicles are alien vehicles. No, these vehicles are vehicles that were not created on Earth, and they exist. Next question, kind of thing.
So
is what they're saying.
so there's life in other planets? No, not at all.
No.
We have some vehicles that were created somewhere else by very smart beings, and that's pretty much it. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, pretty much they confess, but sort of not. But it's sort of now official that they have acquired technology from other galaxies or planets. And I've been following a story of this guy called Bob Lazar, that apparently he worked in Los Alamos in Area 51 back in the 70s, and they were working on reverse engineering like a spaceship that had nuclear power. But this is like technology they'd never seen before. So they were trying to like study this thing and reverse engineer it to see how we could do it in Earth, So, but yeah, like pretty much it's official now. What's your stance on this? The classic question: do you think there's life in other planets?
Well, my first instinct when I just saw Steve just sent me the article. If they can find a way to use these vehicles to solve the traffic here in LA, man, like just let me know. Like that's what I need to know. Like I'm not worried about other how are you gonna help me, aliens? You know what I'm saying? Like you guys are just gonna show off. You're just gonna be like, look what we built, and then just like move on with it. You're gonna be selfish, or you're gonna keep send Elon the blueprints. You know what I'm saying? Like him and that Pirates of the Caribbean lady, they can talk about it, whatever. They can go on their first joyride. I don't care, but that's what I need to know. And if they really have found something like this, yeah. I also feel like I don't know.
I know I threw you in the hot spot there because you're just reading it for the first time. So
yeah, but like when I
but we are too. I don't know anything else besides the fact that they use that wording. So I'm in the same boat.
I think, there's also the back in the day, people used to, and I'm stealing from a guy right now. Who's the dude that did the original Cosmos? What's that name, dude's name?
Dan Carlin? No, that's not no. Dan, no. I know who you're talking about. Not Neil deGrasse Tyson. He does it now.
Yeah.
Carl Sagan.
If it wasn't him, it was someone else that wrote a book like back in the day before people knew what aliens were or like even conceptualized the idea. Like it was a lot about like dragons and underwater sea monsters. And if you notice, like now that we've done a lot, like people don't think about it too much. And like now, back then, if they didn't understand something, they would just be like, it's a monster. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a kraken. It wasn't, instead of just understanding that maybe there's just giant squids out there or people just don't know how to swim and that's what killed them. I don't know. But like they thought manatees were mermaids. You know what I'm saying? And like now we're here in Florida and we're just like nailing them with boats. And we're just like, these mermaids are in the way all day, every day. And it's just not as romantic anymore.
I've had a few boys. I've catched a few boys fucking manatees on that thing. So
you've caught them?
Yeah. A bunch of nasty motherfuckers. Yeah.
Well, that's an endangered species. So what they should at least do is tag.
I mean, they call them manatees, but I'm not gonna go in.
Oh my god! We're on two different wavelengths there. That's what happened there.
I was there with you.
I like to have friends that I can help improve.
Oh. But yeah, back in the day, they would see that. They thought that's what that was. You know what I'm saying?
Manatees.
And then nowadays, it's like we're on this next frontier, which is space. And we're like, if we don't know what it is, then it's aliens, But maybe, I don't know. I'm not one. I know enough to know that I know nothing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that's, I feel like is the basis of all the stuff that I see in this realm of conspiracies.
Crazy that you mentioned the underwater monsters. Because like that is more proven, I think, like these megalodon sharks like this. That was a massive building in the water. Same thing. I mean, as
that's
whales.
Proven?
That's proven. There's proof of like these massive.
There's a movie, so that's gotta be true.
It must be.
Jason Statham would not lie to us.
No.
Hey, bro,
perfect. You brought this up, dude.
Did you watch this movie?
I watched part of it, dude. I couldn't take it.
You watched it, Eric?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw
Dude. Dude, it's crazy,
go on
right?
it, please. Can you inform me, because I need to know? Did Jason Statham roundhouse kick the fuck out of the megalodon, or what the fuck did?
Like a Bruce Lee movie, man. Just he's put this leg on that side of its face. That's what he did.
What?
Man, and the movie straight up to me had like so many corny lines, and it was weird. I was just watching it to laugh. To be honest, I just lit one up and I was just laughing. But dude, there was a time where like they had a big ass boat. They have like weapons and shit. It's like, okay, how are we gonna attack this thing? And Jason just like, I guess I just have to go in the water by myself. Is the best option. And he just goes in the water with like a harpoon, and he's just like, it's the best option, you know, like, because
he's Jason
Statham.
We're
and I'm just like, all right, that makes sense, I guess. Yeah. And then there was corny lines, like he had the little headset on in the water by himself, and then just like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, as okay as I could be. He just corny lines from like tough guys, and
it's all about your mindset. Yeah. That's what that movie's really about, guys. It's not about technology. It's not about who's got the bigger spear. It's who's got it up here, you know? Who's got the mindset to take on a megalodon? Because if you believe you can, you will.
Then you can't. You will?
You still can't. You're going to get eaten. It'll be a quicker death, though. So it'll be less painful. So.
Okay, so that was real. Like, none of the movie, but that existed at one point.
Yeah, so that was it's definitely like more plausible now. I'm pretty sure that people. I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere. Like, oh, the megalodon.
We're here talking, bro. Science.
I fucking hope so, bro.
Like the megalodon. I mean, that's pretty true, right? We know. I mean, everybody's clear on that, right? And probably wouldn't know, because if they existed, then the whole giants thing seems a lot more.
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. It does.
It does exist.
It does. Yeah.
So
23 to 3 up. It lived between 23 to 3.6 million years ago. So in the Miocene to Pliocene era, I don't know. When architecture,
that's my scene. That's my scene. That's my scene.
That's your scene. Okay, that's. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna say. It's trash. I'm not. This is not my. History.
All right, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to give me the politics on it. It existed.
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, so when it comes to like giants and things like that, like that's you tie some of these massive beings in, and you're like, damn, like maybe I don't know. But yeah,
you got excited about a Jason Statham movie, Stevie. What were you saying?
Oh no! I was just like, because of course it's Jason Statham. He's gonna jump in, and he's the man. If anybody could do it, he could do it. Is that what you're talking about? Or
I really watched it for him, because
right.
You know.
Didn't you say though, Kiko, about these what's it called? These movies being created for different regions of the world. They're more.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to touch on this too hard because I don't know what Eric's thoughts are, and I don't want to put him on the spot. But since you mentioned it, then fuck it. Didn't you feel, Eric?
Can take anything.
Didn't you feel, Eric, that movie was a bit, and nothing wrong with it, but it was like a bit made towards the Asian market? Everything was like written in English, and then also I think it was Chinese, and then I had a lot of Chinese actors, and I have heard that in the past years, a lot of Chinese companies have invested millions and millions on Hollywood movies, and things like The Rock, that makes all these like fantastic movies. They're like geared and sort of in a bit censored towards the Asian market, mainly China. And when I saw that movie, because before I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. When I saw that movie, I was like, oh yeah, it didn't feel like an American movie, which is nothing wrong with it. But did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I've had a buddy of mine, because out here, I live in Los Angeles, so like the world of like, you know, what is it, hiring or casting comes up a lot. And I had a friend of mine talk to me about how, you know, the Asian community has like a really low proportion of being casted, and so that was actually something that stood out quite like apparently to me when I saw like there were a lot of Asians casted in that film, and yeah, and I believe that I can tell some of the shots were. I felt like some of the scenes were shot in China or like in the Asian, you know, geographic
the coast.
Yeah. So yeah, like that's a no doubter, dude. Like these movies for sure, what they are, it's all about making money. Like when you think about like that's the first thing that these producers think of. They're not even thinking about like like necessarily how great the story is or whatever. It's like when they think about actors, they don't think about like, oh, that's a good actor. They're asking, does this actor bring us X amount of views, right? Like that's why The Rock will always keep getting casted. So yeah, when I see that they are bringing on like a lot of the attributes from like the Asian culture, for sure, that's what that is. And I think that like I don't have a problem with that at all. I think what it does bring, though, it's closely related to when you think about what happened with the Houston Rockets and like how sometimes there are, and I know with the Marvel Avengers, there's a lot of instances where it does lead to censorship. Like I don't care about you pandering, I don't care about that. Like if you know that that's going to get you butts in the seats and you got millions of dollars invested. But when you think about like when someone has a creative vision and it can't go through because they're thinking about what the freedom implication is in regards to how they can express themselves versus what China would take in, and the money's interfering with what they want to express, that's something else. But yeah.
Well, I think Eric couldn't have explained it better. Like that's exactly like Steven, if you didn't know, that's exactly what I've been trying to say.
Oh yeah, no.
For 5 years. No, I'm just kidding. But no, because the thing is, the reason why I said, like, oh, maybe it might be an edgy topic is because I don't mind. We don't mind if like a Chinese company wants to make a movie that shows a lot of the Chinese culture or whichever. That's fine. That's cool. My problem was, and you explained it very, very good there, is that apparently there's starting to be censorship because there's certain, it's not really just companies that are based in China, but they're companies that have influence from the Chinese government. And apparently they are able to decide like, oh, on this Avenger movie, maybe at the end, instead of having this villain, make the villain something else. And that's when I start having problems where the creative freedom that these artists have, producers, the directors, it gets taken away because there's so much money involved in making it, be like I almost feel like in Europe when the football teams, every once in a while you will have like a very, very rich oil person, either from Russia or the Arab countries, and they will buy a team that nobody ever heard of that was really bad in the league, like in the French league or the English league or Spanish league, and they will inject so much money on it and buy everyone in the market, and at the end the team wouldn't even really perform well because it wasn't players that really had the chemistry, but it was just like, let's just throw money at it and sort of do it how we want. And it kind of disrupted the market, I feel. And I think that's what can happen in these situations as well.
Yeah. If Marvel knows what, like when you think about like how it happened with Marvel, like they know what they're signing up for when they're making the movie. Like they have X amount of budget and they know going into it, it's one thing. I think what comes to like, for me, like what bothers me, it's when there is something that a movie's being made and the intended action is to just tell a story or to get a message across. But because it's tied to a company that's tied to China's revenue, even if like China's not directly involved in what their box office predictions are, they're like, oh, you can't do that. And I think a lot about like, the Houston Rockets, like that GM, when he tweeted about how, he supported Hong Kong being independent, and they're like, yeah, you can't be doing that. You know what I'm saying? Where like, this guy is just expressing himself on an American medium in an American way. And to me, like that's just expressing yourself. And then now, because of the cost that literally had, everyone starts, like, hey, you can't be saying that. We're censoring ourselves for that. Like, that's where I feel like there's like that fine line. If you're like going into it knowing like, yo, whatever China wants, let's like that's your art, dude. That's what you're aiming for. Then that's what you're going for. But when it's not that, and you're still being affected by that, that's where it gets dicey.
Huh. I'm actually reading this story for the first time. And
the Hong Kong one?
Yeah, I didn't even know this was
the GM. And you know what's or I find it curious and peculiar in this thing is that a lot of the people that like defended or bash the GM for talking about Hong Kong, a lot of maybe basketball players and important figures, are the same people that are advocating for like, PC culture in the US and for nobody to be like, for all these protected groups, right, to have certain privilege and there are legitimate civil rights movements, and I'm not gonna get into that topic, but what I'm saying is it sort of seems like there's a double standard. Like you're fighting for equality and in your home field, but when it's on another side and they have, regardless of what you agree with, if the people in Hong Kong have a legitimate reason to want to be free because of the repercussions that it would mean not, being independent, then it's like, oh no, we cannot talk about that. And it's like, I just find it to be hypocrisy from them.
So China owns the Houston Rockets.
No,
because they for sure fired him, right? Is what I
No, actually, I don't know. I don't think the GM was fired. It's just that China buys and consumes a lot of the NBA in every aspect of the work, watching it to buying gear, stuff like that. And the NBA will even travel to China to play games, and they get ticket revenue from that. And the Houston Rockets are one of the teams that I don't know for whichever reason, but they have a particular stamp in China. There's a few teams that are like that. The national brands, for sure. Like when you think about your Lakers and your Knicks. But then obviously, like the Houston had a particular. They for years they've been wearing Chinese letters for their logos on their jersey to represent for China. And
and wasn't Yao Ming on that team for
Yao Ming was on the Houston Rockets at one point,
yeah. So I mean, they have been, you're right, they had to have been around for a while, and they do, and that's just it. They're billions and billions of people over there, right? I mean, they make up a shit ton of money in any market, right? The movie market, the sports
well,
market.
The thing is that recently, because for the last 30 years they've sort of opened the door for capitalism, now they have this weird hybrid, right, where like socially it's still like a communist regime, but on the economic side it's actually like an completely unregulated wild capitalism that me as a free market guy I don't even support. It's just no regulations in it. So then what has happened is that in the last 30 years you actually now have a middle class in China. Before, it was most of the people were poor, and then you had a few people that were with the government. But for some reason or the other, I guess the dictator or the leader of China at the time, which I think is the dad of no, actually it's the same guy that's now, I think. He was like more progressive in the sense of like he didn't want China to just be secluded, so he opened the doors. But it's still very protected, socially it's still very protected, but they give them a lot of freedom for economic, because I guess they understood, look, the only way for us to be richer faster is if we allow our population to become rich and they have all that money in our banks. You know what I mean? In that sense. So now the Chinese population actually has spending money. They're not the poor country anymore. They actually have spending money. They have a middle class. So now what you're saying, Gil, there makes sense that there's actually a reason to want to be in good terms with that market. But what I think is that my protest, or the protest that these people are enacting, I don't think has to do with the Chinese people. I think it's with the regime and the lack of liberties that they have. Because when I support the Hong Kong fight, I do it because I want everybody in that region to have all the liberties that we have in first world countries. It's not because I don't like the Chinese people. I like them and I want them to be in a good system. So it's actually against the regime or the system that they have. It's not against the Chinese people. So if you're the Houston Rockets, I mean, I think they have political ties or money ties, because otherwise, as a Houston Rockets, I'm like, look, I don't mind that guy said that, because we support liberty for everybody. And I think people will back them up as well. I don't think the Chinese people will necessarily go against that, but maybe I don't know how Chinese people think in China. Maybe they do like their government, and I'm here just talking shit.
Guys, I just got a text from Xi Jinping, the leader of China, that we gotta stop talking about this right away.
Stay where you are.
Stay where you. Yeah, Kiko. Yeah, you need to leave your house right now. No, dude, it's crazy, man. That outreach is crazy. Eric, you were about to go off on something before I made a terrible joke.
Oh, I wasn't. I think I was just. I'm just curious, like, about I'm trying to like explore the difference between what Kiko's bringing up, where it's like the NBA players, and the NBA has been very vocal about the civil rights issues that we're having here, and how there's systematic issues that are here in the country. But there's no doubt that there's hesitation about bringing it up to China, and it goes to show, I think where the dollars are. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, something like that, it's definitely like follow the money in regards to their fear for China. I don't know enough about, both those worlds to understand necessarily where the fine points are, but I do know that when that comes up, like my eyes do perk up a bit. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on there. And that's definitely like a type of topic that if I don't have enough research in it, I don't want to go too deep into it. But yeah, following the money, I feel like solves a lot of.
Yeah, just following the money. It's always about the money. It's always about the money, dude.
Follow the money. It's okay.
And that's something that I think, you know, as we get older, we're gonna be telling ourselves ourselves now, right? Like everything has a reason, you know. Right now, this podcast has a lot of general topic things, timeless, controversial questions that we try to answer. But then a lot of the times too, you know, we find ourselves, just because it's 2020, like it's really hard to stay away from the conspiracies, right? And something I would tell myself, something in my younger years, is that I would just read up a little bit more, right? Talk. I'm talking about it now, and I still don't feel like I know enough to talk about it, but I feel like it's a conversation to be had. And sometimes just the conversation itself could actually lead to more knowledge of the topic. Because, like, for instance, I didn't know about the Houston Rockets. I didn't know any about this, right? So I don't know what I would tell myself. And there's, I don't know, that's a topic in and of itself. Like, what do you think? If you could tell yourself something from back in the day right now, or what would you tell yourself, I guess, your previous decade? What are you now, 30, like me?
Mm-hmm.
You're 30, 31 almost in October, no?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, in October. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what would you say to yourself now that you're a married man, you're living in LA? What would you tell yourself before moving and changing your entire life?
Oh man,
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. We think about like how, like, I think what you're trying to touch on is how when we're always learning more as we get, you know, move forward in life, you know, as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the truth of the matter is you can go in depth as much as you want on any topic. I feel like, you know, anytime you see, like, there's people who get master's degrees in just like the Chinese economic system, you know, doctorates in that, and they still don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? And there's still just our best voice for it. And yeah, so like if I were to think about like what I know in terms of my own life and like how I think about things that I can research or understand better that would have made my life coming back here and then like reliving where I'm at here. I don't know, man. I'm in the world of like, yo, dog, you got to learn it. Like, you know, like it's one of those things where like, if you go through it, that's how you're going to learn it. Like if I were to tell myself the answers, then I wouldn't remember them, you know, like, but it's
so
something about getting punched in the face.
You don't think there will be like bullet points? Like you don't even like 10 bullet points, you know, you still have to go through certain experiences, but you don't think if you had the chance, there's certain things that you would say that, you know, like, I know it's very corny because his question is super like, you know,
it's open-ended. It's super open, but I guess we were talking about this the other day, and we are like, man, like, you know, now I'm living down here. You know, for instance, me, right? I would tell myself not to worry too much about the physical aspects of things. Like, as I was younger, I feel like I was really kind of, my knee-jerk reaction would be more of an anger jerk reaction, right? Like I'd be really angry. And then right now, you know, little things that happen, I would just say to myself, like, dude, like sometimes it's just better to take it easy. Like all this stuff that's going on right now, you know, the coronavirus, everybody being cooped up, everybody being super angry at things. And I don't want to say that this is the same, but like take a step back, you know, and ask yourself, or is this going to matter? Is what you're getting super angry about, right? Like these people not wanting to wear masks or whatever. Like they're angry because they have to wear masks. But if you were to just wear a mask, would it really bother you? I don't know, a week or two, a month or two or three from now, when when nobody has to wear a mask anymore because we all did our job. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes people get so caught up in it, and that's a self lesson. That's a me thing. Like I feel like me 18, 19, 20, I probably would have been one of those jackasses who didn't want to wear the masks, you know?
Well,
then
Steven,
like you got to be a little bit more.
Don't you think? Because you know, it's funny, right? Because the first thing, like Eric said, like, I mean, I don't care. What can I tell myself? I still got to live the experiences to really learn it. And then I'm like, no, but you could probably tell yourself something. And I'm still thinking about it. And then Steven says, oh, I'll tell him to like handle anger better. And then I was just like, Yeah, but that's the exact thing that like parents and older people would tell that kid. And when you're that age, you're not able to process that, right? So at the end, you still do need to live it, right, Eric? Because like I was just thinking myself, like, what would you tell yourself? I was like, man, I would tell him to be like a lot more careful, because I started thinking about like the close to death experiences and shit, like stupid shit I did, where I was just like, what the fuck was I doing, right? And but if I would have told myself that back then, I would have been like, that my younger self would have been like, yo, shut the fuck up. What do you mean? like I wouldn't have taken the advice anyway. So I think that whole dynamic doesn't really work. Like whatever you tell your younger self is gonna be obnoxious and fucking, egotistical and think, that he's fucking
shut up, me. You don't get me, bro.
You don't get me.
You're you. I'm me. You don't get me.
You're a boomer.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, like, I teach kids from pre-K to all the way to like seniors in high school, and I've even helped kids in college with like certain concepts. And it's just like one thing that you really learn is like sometimes there's people that you could tell them like there is a wall right there. Watch out, just go to the left. And some kids would be like, great, thanks for letting me know. And there's some other kids would be like, what was that guy's like? Bam! And like they just gotta run into that wall. And then you're gonna be like, and then they'll be like, dude, there's a wall there, man. I should have told myself that. But then,
I actually think there's kids that will run directly to there's a wall.
Exactly. 100%. Be like, that guy said there's a wall there and I can't turn left. Watch this, teach. Wow, bam. Be like, you know what? That guy's got ideas sometimes. That guy's got some ideas.
He's not that bad, He's not
that bad. He was watching out. He was looking out for us, bro. He was looking out for us. So, like, I think there is a definite value in just like, you know what, go through it, like learn it yourself. And I don't know, I was thinking about this yesterday and today a bit where, I think about like, I'm worried about how I can stress out about things. Like kind of Stevie, when you're talking about like being angry, like I get anxious about stuff. I get really concerned about like, is this going to like what I'm planning to do? If I don't obsess over it, is it not going to happen? Am I going to fall short because I'm not trying hard enough or I'm not thinking about it enough? And that stresses me out and I hate that. And I wish I could tell myself, like, yo, chill, you're going to get there. But the truth of the matter is I bounce back and forth between like, I do want to be present. I do want to enjoy it. But that has been a tool that's guided me like all these years to be like, yo, that's how you got stuff done, man. Like when everyone else was laying in the cut, like you just,
you're obsessing over it and getting it done.
Yeah, this whole COVID thing, like once this hit, the first thing I thought of was, all right, what can I do differently? Like, what can I do to start teaching in a different way and have like a whole different experience and how help kids? Because I knew right off the bat, either people were going to A, lay back and collect the government checks, or B, they're going to just be thinking about like, how can we make everything look like the way it did? Be like, dude, that's not how this is going to happen, man. Like I knew right off the bat, like this is something completely different and there's going to be a new future ahead of us where things are going to look different. And like I was, dude, my heart was, I couldn't sleep for like weeks, but like, I was able to do like a bunch of different things that like now everyone's like, hey, that's a good idea. That's helping them out. But I was freaking out. Like, I wish I could do that without having to be like having a panic attack where I'm just like, it's like getting eggs at the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, let me just try this thing. Let me just try how to teach on Zoom better, like stuff like that. Whereas like now it's like, you gotta, oh my God, if I don't do this now, my whole family's going to starve. And so I don't know, man, it's one of those things where like, I would love to tell myself even to like, yo, chill out, calm out. But I don't even know if that would be helpful because I may just like, sit back.
It may not work for you. Right.
It may make me complacent.
No, I mean, that's a good point. And I commend you for it because I know like, especially you being a teacher, like these are some uncertain times, especially for like the education and how it's going to be handled. Obviously education is never going to go anywhere, but I think the execution of it, especially if you're doing it for yourself, like you are, you gotta get a little bit, you gotta adapt. And, sometimes that might mean, a little bit of an anxiety attack and possibly a Xanax at the end of the night. I don't know, but I mean, that seems like it's a good idea sometimes. So, I think everything right now is really, really crazy. And for me, like, yeah, I started studying, you know what I mean? And I told myself after college, I'd be like, that's it, dude. That, like, I'm not going back. I'm not going to go back to school, but, it's what's going to work for me in this case. You know what I mean? So it's all about adapting, I think. Kiko's always adapting. He's putting out all kinds of stuff over there. So
yeah. The other day I was just filming some homeless people. putting out the content, see, what works.
Yeah, bro. That's not true.
Just try.
What's crazy? I believe that because there's like how YouTube, like once you hit a video, it keeps showing it. I hit one where it's a dude who interviews homeless people throughout the country. So I was actually like, oh, you do that too? Like, all right, it's fascinating. If you ever want to go down
trying it all. We're trying it all. It's desperate times.
Yeah.
We're doing sketches, We're thinking of like getting like a little ballerina dress and going into like areas where there's no vehicles and it's all empty. We're trying it all, man. It's desperate times, bro.
Yeah. You do enough things. It's the law of numbers, bro. One of those things are going to come through.
Yeah, I hope.
It's funny you say that, dude. It's crazy. You just start putting out content sometimes. Like when you start looking at the Broskiedoodles, the first couple episodes, to where we are now, it's we nobody knows what the hell they're doing when they're starting. Nobody, But
we still don't know.
We still don't know. Well,
But we live that uncertainty better each time.
Yeah. Like I used to freak out to turn on this camera, turn on the camera. Oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, gotta get ready. Gotta, make sure I put my deodorant on, you know what I'm saying? And now it's like, oh, ready to hop on. Let's hop on. You know what I'm saying? Like it's get her done type of mentality.
You know how Steven is, very, he goes, he has a vanity touch on him. He's always been the guy that's always clean cut, Mm-hmm. And so
I met some of my best barbers through Stevie, dog. And he's the one I'd go to. Like, where do you go, man?
Which is funny because just for the viewers out there, like Eric, you were the first one that showed me where to go get a tape, and then I just I fell in love with the atmosphere, so much so that I was like, Mom, I'm gonna go start cutting hair as like a part-time. I was like, excuse me? No, you're not. That's for thugs and hoodlums and shit. And I'm like, Mom, what the fuck? If I would have been a barber now, then I see you, Kiko, your sister Karen, who's dating Rodrigo, Roderick. And I was like, and he's like pushing a sick ass 240 SX and a BMW fucking 3 whatever the heck it was. And I was like, damn, if I would have just said,
yeah. And the thing is, Steven has that face that he's like the classic look of a Miami barber, right? Like, yeah, he could do it perfect.
I would love to have started one of those fancy barbershops. You walk in, they hand you a whiskey, like powder your head, polish your balls kind of thing. That's
and the host is a British girl. Hello.
Yep.
Hello, welcome to Euphoria.
Right.
That's a fucking trendy name like that.
Charging $65 a haircut.
Yeah, per hair.
For your transformation.
Well, it's a whole new world, man. If you wanted to go back into it, dog, like you could just make it where it's like those, they come in and you have like the luxury experience where, those movies where they're working with a deadly virus and they got to walk out and like all that spray comes in them. You know what I'm saying?
Quarantine, just walk in.
But like you're playing like it goes to the beat or something. You got that. I'm gonna let you create that. I'm just gonna put that in your court.
Euro techno bouncer.
Yeah, man.
No, but Steven,
I don't know how we got here, but it's pretty
like
funny.
so like it also shows how sometimes parents can knock down on the kids' dreams, right? Because you went to your mom, you're like, Mom, I want to be a barber, right? Your mom is like, oh, let me tell you something. It reminds me of Eric bit of the chancleta back in the day, right? He would be like, very Spanish mom, like, doesn't speak English. I mean, I know your mom speaks very well, but it works better if it's very, very accenty.
I up it 10 times when I do that.
Yeah. But so his mom's telling Steven, like, hey, let me tell you something. I want you to like do something that's gonna make you money, not cutting hair or nothing. Steven's like, Mom, it's an art. I can see him like, Mom, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, man. I mean, right? Tell me that when both of you actually are very creative people, when you guys started talking about stand up or musically as an artist, Kiko, what was your parents' first reaction? And this is not a knock on either of your parents. It's just kind of like that idea back in the day, right? School is like number one. At least that was in my house. I wanted to know if my mom was right or is it was like that because a lot of people were like that, or if she was just being a jerk.
Right. No, I definitely got that. And to a certain degree, my parents were very supportive of it, but they also were like, make sure you also go to school too, because what you want is options. And that was their perspective. It was to do that. So I remember when I first told them I wanted to do stand up, I was in middle school. And no, it was either that or I wanted to be like an actor. I wanted to be like Jim Carrey. And so, yeah, like they told me like, just, do whatever you want to do, and just, make sure that you're always giving yourself options. So that I appreciated. And then there's the other. So I feel like that's in the middle of the spectrum, because the beauty of being a comedian is when you go to open mics, and you've come to some open mics. Some people had parents that told them to just go for it, and maybe they shouldn't have. Like there's certain people.
Oh yeah, I remember that dude who walked up on that stage at the Hard Rock Improv, it was the Improv, right? Yeah, and I was like, yo,
yeah,
I think he's really drunk.
Yeah,
man. Like, and one thing that I find crazy, and I've always, I'm a super fan of stand up, and I follow it, I analyze it, and within me, I have that thing where like some people is with music, some people is like in my mind, my little like frustrated dream. It's like I always wanted to be a comedian, and I always have those little times where I'm like, yeah, I could do it, but then I realize that the art of it, and it's a beautiful art, and it's one of the rare arts that you need to develop with a public. And that part to me is super crazy, because as a musician, I do everything in a close environment, right? Like I make the music and do it all with the parameters that I think are best, right? Like I judge my work, and I think I'm very harsh on myself, but I'm the only opinion on it. I mean, of course, when I collaborate with people and some people help me out with stuff and they give me their opinions, but in general, I do the whole thing in a capsule. And then with comedy, it's something that very few people really have material that they prepare all in a room and then went to tell the jokes. Like most people, the right way to do it, and the only way to do it right, is for you to develop that material along with the audience, and then you find the timings and the words to strike. Could you elaborate a bit on that, Eric, and maybe confirm if I'm in the right, if I'm looking at it correctly, and how can you explain that a bit better that you've done it?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Like you need to have that audience feedback to understand like where it's going. And coming from doing my stand up in Miami versus Central Florida, other parts of the South, and then here on the West Coast, it's fascinating to understand where you need the audience to help guide you, but then you have to understand like there's certain audiences that, do you want that feedback? Do you not want that feedback in regards to how harsh you take it? It's good to know, like, all right, this doesn't work with this type of audience. Like, what do you want to do with that information? Do you want to change it to make it work like that? The challenge is, can you make it work for both? Or do you want to just go down that one arrow, like, yo, I know my niche, let me just roll with that. And you'll see those comedians, man. If there's a Hispanic comedian, I can just tell you right now, there's some people that'll just straight up tell you, like, have you ever noticed Hispanics like this and other people are like that? And they'll just ride that all the way to the end, right? And at that point, that's where you can follow the money and see that. But then there's others that I think a great example of that is like a Greg Giraldo, where he's dead now. And you would not even know if it wasn't for his name and a few topics that he did that, it was that realm of stand-up of like, Hispanics versus others. He just talked about things that he was interested in and general politics. And the way I used to write is I still do sometimes, is I'll just talk it out loud and I'll write down what I think is good. And then I'll just try that out with the audience. And so you'll just hear, if you ever like, if the same house or room as me, like ever since I was a kid, I did it this way, where I would just talk in my room, talking to myself. I mean, you hear me laughing. I laughed and there's something to it maybe. And I'm just sound like a psychopath. But the good news is that my dad did that, but he would just like talk to himself about like things he's got to do that day. Be like, I gotta go to the store. You know what I mean? So I gotta go to the panaderia. I got all that stuff. And then so it wasn't that weird for me to be in my room talking to myself. And then I would just jot down. And for me, like it's just like spark notes. Like I'll just have like a sentence that's something about like like, oh, grocery store speakers, something like that. And I'll know to take a bit like that, and I'll be able to go where I want to go from there.
What's what you say is super important, because one thing that comics say makes them strong is when they are in the road, because then you get a feeling of the fabric in general in the whole country. And I mean, you probably were able to see that when you were in South Florida and in the South, the audience, you were able to say certain things, and there was a reaction. And you go to the West Coast, and it's completely different. And it's like, I guess the goal would be, not without censoring yourself, find a way to strike all those topics so that the whole country gets it, right? Or at least that you could tell this everywhere, and people will have a good feedback of it. But I would imagine that is really hard, and I bet there's comedians that get stuck in the town that they are. They never go in the road. Maybe at the time it was a good gig, and then when they do try to go somewhere else, they're so desensitized of the popular culture that they're just stuck in that little town mentality, so to speak.
Yeah, I think a mini example of that you all saw was when I did stand up in high school. Like, I knew my audience. I would just go up there. I'd just rip on the counselors and be like, Eric's the best comedian of all time. And then I remember when I finally turned 18, or even when I was 17, I would just go to open mics that had nothing to do with our high school. And, it's like, who's that principal? I don't know that guy. And so all the jokes would totally go flatline. And yeah, that definitely happens. Yeah, that definitely happens. And when it comes to trying to expand it, when we talk about audiences that, whether you want feedback of them or not, that is interesting. Where you want to have everyone understand it. There's times, especially if you're doing an open mic, where there's a crowd of just comics. And so that change, there's good and bad to that, where if something works, it can work. But then I remember I was here in LA, in Hollywood, trying out some material. And the idea was about no matter how bad a person is, that everyone's got one good idea. You know what I'm saying? There's something that they've thought of that's the way that they think of the worst person in the world. Maybe they tied their shoes in a really good way. Who fucking knows? You know what I'm saying? There's just something that you can learn from them. There's always something you can learn. And I was talking about that, about the president, about Trump, and they shut down. And I thought that was strange because I was in this room full of artists and none of them were trying to expand their idea. But then the flip side of that is what am I saying? How am I saying it that it's not opening their minds to think about that? There's a way I'm introducing it, but that's where you go back and forth, and that's the beauty of it. That's the fun of it.
You find this also if you go. I recently went to a few months back. I was in the U.S. I chilled with Steven, and I went to a comedy club. I saw Pablo Francisco. It was fucking great, and I saw John Mulaney. I saw Pete Davidson. Pretty much the only ones that go to Florida because nobody wants to play, especially not in Miami, they don't go that far down. But one thing that you would notice when you go to these shows, you have the local people, right? And one thing that I found to be an error or a mistake that some of them would do, the openers that are local, Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale comics, some of them would, and I think it hurts you to go local, so what about the Miami Dolphins, or what about the Mikosuki, and they're not wearing the mask here, okay, you can get a quick laugh because if you're relatable, it makes it easier, but then you're not preparing yourself to go tell those jokes anywhere else, so you're really hindering your abilities when you do that type of shit. And it's sort of what you were saying, or when you get stuck in those towns, you end up doing local stuff. And I guess you could keep doing it and make money out of it, and you never really progress out of it. But I find that is so important, the way that you route yourself with your audience, because then that determines the type of material that you make. So in a way, it's kind of funny how comedians are also shaped by the reactions and feedback of the audience they play to. So it's sort of it's one of the only arts that I could think of that has that dynamic where you're literally creating along with the audience every night that you go up.
Yeah. I don't know enough about music to say whether or not. I mean, maybe jazz is like that, I don't know if that's part of it. Or
you definitely have improvisation with other artists, but you don't have. I mean, I cannot think of. Oh, definitely music. It doesn't exist. You don't have a thing where you are playing the music and based on the reaction of the people, I guess DJs, but
yeah, I was gonna say DJing, you have to feel out the crowd all the time. Yeah. I mean, that's because what you're putting out isn't really yours. Yeah. And you got to play to the
part of me wants to feel that is a bit of bullshit. Dude, when you're playing out there, you got to feel the crowd and know what to throw at them. It's they're fucking rolling on ecstasy and Molly. Whatever you throw at them, they're gonna jump around, dog. Like, I don't know.
Just have some beeps, some boops, and some skittle and doops, and then you got it. Yeah.
Wait till you drop it. Wait till you drop it. Wait, what's going on? They go insane.
I remember DJing a wedding back in the day, and dude, no, it was so funny. It was like the first one that they like let me go. They're like, I had nobody with me. Like, oh, just go to this gig and do this, and it was like a paid gig. This isn't like, oh yeah, just come to the party and just play some music, whatever. Because I knew my crowd, but I didn't know, like, these people's family. Crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if these people are like super Latin family or if like they were like for lack of, because I don't really remember that much, but it was like if they're like New Yorican, they like the whole like freestyle 80s vibe, with the LL Cool J. Like, am I playing to that crowd? Like, and dude, I mean, for a good half of the night, dude, everybody's just like, dude, what the F? And I'm like, skip. oh, you like this song? And then I like find something. Oh no, I failed again. Oh, again, skip. Oh, okay, all right. I'm feeling. Oh, you like this BPM? Okay, you like this BPM? Like, I got down to a point where I was like, all right, you want this speed? This is the speed you guys want. Right?
Oh well, but in a sense, then that is. I mean, whatever. I'm not talking shit on DJs, but reserving my comments.
No,
whatever I could think about them. It does seem that is kind of like the stand-up comedy of music, right?
Yeah, it is a stand-up comedy.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about like music was huge to me with my wedding, so I'm just trying to think about like. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, imagine having Steven there, fucking scapegoating tracks like.
Because they're gonna remember you, bro. Like, they're gonna remember you. Like, I've done so bad at stand-up. I had a dude come up and sign up to do stand-up right after me. He's like, "There's no way it could have been that bad. There's no way I could be as bad as this guy." So let me just go up there. And he was chilling with his two boys, and we're like a small hookah bar, and he just went up. And so, like, what's funny is like I've had a lot of good sets, but I always talk about my bad ones because they're just more fun to talk about. They are. So when you talked about like just skip. I'm just imagining people doing the Macarena and then looking at you like when you choose the next song, they're still in that pose of the Macarena. They're like, "Dog, what are you doing? Give us the electric slide or something right now. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yo, Eric. Like, I'm pretty sure when you did that gig, bro, it's not a good look when you finish your set and you hear in the background like, "Oh no, fuck it, I'm signing up for this shit."
I could do that. I could do it better than this guy.
Oh fuck yes, I'm doing this. Like, hold my beer. Like, that's the type of attitude that, I mean, I guess you're inspiring, and that's all.
Yeah, that's really what I do it for. It's to bring others to the art, and whatever it takes.
Eric, on a serious note, because like what you said, right, that you go in when you used to do this, or when you still do it, you go on stage.
Used to.
You sort of work out some topics, and depending on how they react, then you keep building on it. But then there's definitely a moment where you're going in just thinking like, all right, microwaves, and that's all, right? Like waffles, and then you go up, right? And then you start talking on this shit, and I just find it to be so terrifying because, like, when I play music in front of people, I sort of give this vibe that I'm confident on what I'm doing. But I'm always just doubting the shit that I'm doing. And I've practiced this shit all fucking day and many days, and I have it on lock. And I'm still like, fucking, am I delivering this good? And in your case, you're going out there with nothing, just microwave, right? And fucking Eggo waffles. And then you're out there, and you're talking. And I just find it so terrifying to be there. They're expecting you to fucking entertain them, and you're just there throwing, blind bombs, seeing what the fuck happens. If you were to, give from your experience some tips for maybe young people that are like thinking of getting into comics, and myself, because I might fucking, give this shit a try and eat a little shit. Maybe it might be good for therapeutic purposes. But what would you suggest are like basic principles that you should try to do?
I would say, first off, don't ever disrespect my waffle bits because those were my best. All right? Let me tell you that right now. All right? I come onto your podcast and you insult me with my waffle.
Rule number 1.
You know what that Eggo bit did for me? You know how far that took me? You know what that did for my family? And
I live in Cali, bitch.
I would say, dude, for real, I would say
organic waffles.
Yeah, organic. All right. We're talking gluten-free. When no one else was talking about gluten-free waffles, I was up there. And
Pioneer.
I would say that honestly, what really people have to understand in regards to when you're going through it is that when you're first going on and you're failing, just if it helps alleviate the pain, at least it did for me. No one remembers the bad ones. Like, unless like if you're out there and you piss people off, that's a little different. Like, I think I don't know if you would been to those shows, but like I remember at the Hard Rock, what specifically stands out, there was a guy who did a puppet show, but he had the puppet that was able to like pee water, and he just peed on everyone on the front row with this puppet. Everybody hated that guy. So like, but like that's really what it is. Like, if you're trying to be funny and like it doesn't work out, I promise you no one's going to stop you in a Walmart 3 days later and just tell you you're a terrible person. So like there's really no consequence to failing other than it does suck, but there's no long-term effects. There's more good to it than not. You're going to learn more than
you're so insignificant that you're not even going to be a memory to these people.
Yeah.
So go out there, little buddy.
Just go for it. There's like, it's honestly, there's no consequence. There's no consequence when you start off, when you're failing.
I love that. I love that because you literally turn it around. Instead of there being this anxiety and this fear, you're like, who the fuck cares? Like, go up there. Nobody's going to know who the fuck you are.
If you do great, they'll remember you and it'll be great. If you don't, it's win-win really. Because if you do terrible, like think about it if there's a comedian that's not funny on like YouTube, yeah, the comment section is terrible, but the truth of the matter is that video has significantly less views than like a Dave Chappelle special, right? No one's watching the shitty ones. So if you suck at it, then don't sweat it. Like no one's gonna see it. No one's gonna really know about it.
And if you bring your friends, and if they're pieces of shit like ours, then it's a win-win too, right? Because if you do good, the audience laughs, and if you do bad, your friends laugh, and maybe they can make the others think that they're laughing with you when they're laughing at you.
Yeah, so I would actually recommend if you can go as far as you can without having your friends, like, because there's times where you need to bring your friends out so you can get on stage, and there's like they're called bringer shows. Like that's helpful, but I would say just go. Don't tell anyone you're doing it. Just go for it, and that way you can get an authentic experience. Because that is actually for me, that was the biggest fear. Is like if friends came out and it went bad, I'm like, these are people I care about. These are people that
right.
I don't want them to like, and that's when I look back on it, like when in the high school shows, like. That was like risky as shit because like if that did go well, like I'm stuck with everyone for 4 years knowing that I did terrible. I never really I didn't have that kind of context at that time. I just thought it'd be fun to do it. And
you think you could pair this up? You could pair this up like if you're thinking of moving to a new town and starting over, and it's like, and you're kind of thinking of doing comedy. Perfect. Even less people know you. Like, go out there, do your thing. And in a way, it kind of puts you, like, I kind of felt that way when I moved. I've moved a couple of times, and each time I do it, I'm in a new environment where it's like I'm starting from scratch, and I could tell people my new story, like, oh, no, yeah, I was a cool guy, a cool-ass guy, yeah, but, like, and people are like, all right, whatever he says, we're going with it, and your life kind of starts again. And so that's actually a good advice. I never thought of it that way, of just being like, dude, nobody's going to care. And it's true, like, what are the consequences? Okay, they don't laugh. I'm pretty sure that at the beginning you start seeing like, oh fuck, and then you're like, you kind of just like dive into like into the abyss of just eating shit, and you kind of stop caring and become a bit immune, or you think it's always nerve-wracking?
It does, like that's the one piece of comedy advice that's universal. I've had really good comedians, I've had not good comedians that are famous give me advice, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I had Gallagher give me advice once, and I fucking went horrible. And my sister's like, Eric, he smashes watermelons on stage. Like, if anyone doesn't know who Gallagher is, he's a comedian that was famous in the 80s for smashing watermelons on stage. Like, what the hell is he going to be able to help you with your stand-up set? But one piece that is
this
universal.
This guy with a fucking mustache?
Yeah, mustache, bald, hair coming out on the sides. He probably wears a cap. Guys, the guy's Looney Tunes. And he's just, he was one of those guys that when he talks to you, he doesn't look at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of those
doesn't look at you.
He's like looking at the sky. He's like, what you gotta do, man, is when you go up there, you should have something in your pocket that you take out to talk about your jokes. And it's like, dude, and I was dumb enough to do something like that. That's what I'm saying too. Like, yo, if you bomb, they're your best stories, bro. Like, your good stories, you're like, when you have a good set, like those are like proud moments. That's awesome. But like when you like, I don't know, there's something about failure that it's hilarious. It's fantastic. But yeah, I definitely, you just get to a point where if you do it enough, and that's the universal piece of advice that works for everyone, just go up as much as you can, because it's about getting comfortable. So that way you can really feel out like who you are, because you're going to go through your phases where you sound like your favorite comedians, or or you're just not doing well, whatever it is. But if you can just get so comfortable that you really feel like you're being yourself up there, then you setting yourself up to have a much better set and to be able to grow a lot faster. And there's always a sense of like, I want to care enough. Like, you are going to care. There's enough anxiety that, it keeps you focused. But yeah, like it doesn't get to be overwhelming where you're forgetting stuff or you're messing up by accident, things like that.
All right, guys. Well,
sick.
If you guys want to sign up for Eric's comedy class, it's gonna do virtual classes soon. I might sign up too, and I might give it a try here. They have some little clubs here in Spain where like expats and people that from the UK, go to see comedy. So I might just get up there and be like, "Hello, today," and just fucking do some like thing in British accent,
whatever you want, man.
And if that works, then I just gotta keep doing it. But look, bro, I wanted to show you something. This video, I do want you to put the volume. We're all gonna watch it together. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds. And after we all watch it together, then we're gonna talk about it. It's on the chat, and I want to put it all to play at the same time so that we can all see it together, and then we can comment on it. Steven, let me know when you're back.
Yeah, I wonder if is my phone still recording? God bless it. My phone's still recording.
Damn, man. Steve Jobs. So click on the link, and are you all ready to play it?
I'm good to go.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Put the volume up and play it in 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I've seen this.
I will show you, fucking sir. Damn.
It's funny.
I need your corporate number now. Get it for me now. Well, I'm going to ask you for the 5th time to stop calling me a man, because quite clearly I am not.
Clearly, I'm not.
No, yeah, super.
Yeah, don't cuss. That changes the
person
game.
Like hidden behind the thing filming, like, oof. I need my meds. All right.
Well, that's a rager.
We're good, bro. I didn't know. Now we have the first transgender Karen.
I just want to say, because I know we're gonna get, that's because the title of it was transgender, like transgender ma'am goes off in a GameStop. Because I know there's that whole topic, and we can dive into that. I just want to say I'm finding hilarious about this is seeing an adult freak out about video games at that level. Like was it ma'am? So I got respect, ma'am. Kicked over like a display. I don't know what they're mad about, but it's about video games.
No, it was like about a return, because the game sucked or something. It's like, I don't want this game. It sucked.
Then, that's why you can't be. Don't be mad at the clerk because you don't know how to beat Tekken 5. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's not that. It's not the clerk's fault. It's just
bro. I just realized watching it now where he looks to the right, like at the beginning, there's this lady like, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. Dude, imagine you are as a woman, like as a guy, if that person like comes at me, I'm fucking scared, dog. fucking, it looks like one of those giants that Steven was talking about.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
the lady's like, you need to calm down. And then towards the end, he was like, oh, he was like transforming and shit. That poor kid, man. That poor kid at one time, he was like saying like, I know, I'm sorry, sir. It's like, fuck, don't call me. Like he by nature, he was just calling it sir, calling her sir. And then she was like, I'm a man.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like I understand where her frustration can come from, but my perspective has always been, listen, we've all come up, especially the older you get, like I'm just used to seeing that frame, and I just like my mind goes to like a his, right? So just give me some room for error, because I'm trying to work with you here. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to refer to you in the pronoun that you're comfortable with, and that I'm all about that. But just do me a favor, if I slip up, don't chop my head off. Don't be kicking over my StarCraft sign. You know what I'm saying? That I spent 3 days setting that display up. Do me a favor.
Especially if you're on your second cycle of steroids that month. You know what I mean? Like,
the changes are going on. So there's going to be a lot of frustration.
Give me a little margin of error there. If you're on your second cycle of steroids, that I might not see you as a petite, delicate girl. And if you're coming at me with the road rage, that's very peculiar, particular of somebody that's on their second cycle of steroids.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, like you said, she's this middle-aged, used to be man, now woman, or maybe you see what I'm saying? I'm messing it up myself. Like even they, like I get a little bit bothered when people get super upset about the pronoun situation when, and I understand that you want to be considered a certain way, but like, is it fair to all of us that we could be like chastised for messing that up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if I guess it's a case by case, like a situation like that, like I'm definitely thinking you're pulling a fast one on me, bro. You're just trying to put a. I've seen pranks like this on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like,
I see what you're saying. You don't even think it's real. You think it's somebody just trying to.
Yeah, like that's like your execution is really like not there yet. Like, I mean,
that's
you're not even being
within.
You're not even being delicate. No, but fuck it. I'm just gonna be honest with it. Like, like I think that like if you were. Just people get too angry too fast, man. People get too angry too fast. This goes back to what I'm saying. Like, if it's really gonna bother you, a day from now, if you're gonna live your life the same way, then just let this slide, man. I mean, I did hear though in the video that for the 5th time you've called me a sir or whatever, and I get that, I get that, but
I don't know.
Come on, man.
Because that's such a you got someone. She's the tallest person in the room. It definitely got the biggest frame. And this dude has been selling nothing but World of Warcraft subscriptions for the past 4 years, right? And it's a very low stakes environment. And then you just got this huge violent, like being in front of you, like threatening you, like kicking over, Super Mario signs. And you just like you're under pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people are good at practice, but once the game starts, it's like they forget how to throw a football, right? And so like this person is trying their best. Like I believe that the person by the frame, like, and maybe the person behind the desk is being condescending. Who knows, right? They're gamers, they're trolls. Who knows? But I think there's still an argument to be made where like, I thought this dude was going to hit me over the head with a Wii controller. I didn't know what was going to happen. So like, like I don't know, man. Like I feel like, I think this person, I've seen a lot. I worked at a grocery store for a long time. It's Florida, if you know which one it is. So, but yeah, I've seen people freak out because they couldn't get a return, a refund. And it's a mental health issue. At that point, when you're getting that angry because you can't return Tekken, you're dealing with a bunch of other things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't justify that at all. Even if that's not the way to go about it. Even if the guy was being a dick, which I'm pretty sure he was not. This is just a kid that all he knows is Warcraft. When he plays Warcraft, the lady characters look a certain way, and the warrior characters look a certain way. And he was just like, this guy looks like the warrior I fought last night.
You're a level 50 orc right now, dog. I don't care what.
Yeah.
I don't need to get battle axed in the head. That's what I'm worried about.
I need to call my clan and talk about this. Like, and then you're coming at me screaming, with a Wii controller in the fucking air.
So would that be called a raid? Like, would you call a raid on that person, or you'd have a full on?
You will need to set it up, schedule it, and then you go and you go, and then when they're casting spells, like I'm a man, casting spells. I need corporate.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh man. I mean, I think that was in 2018. At least that's when the video was published, and things are really getting like extra sensitive, especially now. I mean, and there's, what was it in Canada? They even passed a law that you cannot call someone by their pronoun or whatever it is that they
in
basically
Canada?
In Canada.
I know that Jordan Peterson, which is like an intellectual,
like a psychologist, right?
Yeah, clinical psychologist, author, and I listened to him a bit. And back in the day when that happened, I listened to his argument against it. But I wasn't sure if they ended up passing the law or not. But yeah, you are correct. It was Bill 16, something like that, which meant that you could be liable by law if you like misgender somebody. And like the first argument I had about it, because like, I'm down to call you whatever you want, and I'm cool with it. But it's just like, how do I know before you tell me if apparently you could be whatever it is that you want? Like, you could say that you're like a gender that is like a little being that exists in like, there's not like, okay, 3 or 5 or 10 is infinite. So then at least tell me what's your avatar that day so that I can address you correctly, And I understand it. I play video games every day. I'm into, thinking I'm a dragon and shit. I just don't need the law to like
back you up.
Yeah.
Like,
shoot people in the face if they don't call me, Master Dragon.
Oh man. Yeah, I think it's really screwed up. I mean, I think that's a law that's like just unenforceable. I mean, I'm to a certain degree, I'm sure people who get called the pronoun that they're not after consistent like saying, but like how where's that line? And what are the parameters? I guess it's really dumb in my opinion. But I do feel like you can identify with whatever you want to identify. Go for it. You know what I mean? But then like when you start to add so many of these like these rules, they start to like kind of overlap a little bit, right? So like if this person identifies as a woman, okay, in this video, right? But what about like what's that Catch Me Outside girl? Whatever her face is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like she probably more so identifies with like the African American culture. But is she allowed to say that she's black? Do I have to consider her as? I mean, not that there's anything.
Well, there's a documentary on Netflix. I think is where it's at. It's literally like this white lady says that she identifies as a black woman. So
I mean,
so it's gone that way. And you are right. The problem with that law, just quickly, Eric, are you good to do 30 minutes more?
Yeah, this is good by me.
All right, so I'll keep recording and just hit your camera, Steve, in a bit. What I was saying is, the problem is this law at the moment is only deciding a small thing, right? Which is like, oh, you want me to call you this pronoun or the other? Most people really don't care, right? But it's the technicalities of it. When you start compelling speech, like you're able to decide what people can say and not, then you can fill the law later on. Like you can add things. Like it's very vague. The law is so vague that it says you need to call everybody by their pronouns before you even talk to them. But then there's infinite amounts of pronouns, so then there's no way for you to know. So then that also leans itself for you to, for example, be told like, no, you cannot say this because this is transphobic or whatever. And who decides what that word is? It goes to a slippery slope, I believe, when you have this type of laws that control the way someone speaks and someone expresses themselves.
Yeah, I think that everybody being conscious is important. I think once you get to the sensitive part, it kind of gets a little a little, I don't know, childish, or like it's like the tantrum that's being thrown in this video, right? Like, just like, it's okay, maybe if you really wanted to drive that point home, then all you have to do is, just go about it like a mature, person who can maybe sit there, wait for everybody to clear out, and be like, hey, look, I really didn't appreciate that. This is this and this and this is why. If you care to do that, if not, walk away from a situation. How many times have your parents told you, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I mean, maybe your parents did or didn't, but like, oh, if you get into a fight, just walk away. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna make you any less of a person. You get what I'm saying? And the fact that you're trying to change somebody else's beliefs by force, by aggression, it's gonna be a little bit. It's not gonna be well received. So that's my 2 cents on that.
We're saying, like, you're talking about like being able to enforce laws in regards to like dictating how people say things and do things.
Yeah, like that at the moment it might be something simple, but then that could be a slippery slope to them saying like, oh, you cannot say this now because this falls within that law. So the law is very vague, where like you can pretty much interpret it, however that person who's in power can decide. And that, I think, is the scary part. I think it's more the job of the culture to sort of condemn or celebrate the things that people say. Like there's things that are not illegal to say, but people don't say them because the culture understands that is mean, and you will be shunned for saying that. So I think these type of things are best left to the culture and the court of public opinion, because that itself keeps pushing the bar forward with progress. But when you start putting it with laws, the reason why I say this is because I've seen this go to the extreme. In Venezuela, they pass laws where it's like, oh, you cannot instigate hate, right? Like, that's the law. You cannot instigate hate. But then you can define what instigating hate is. So a politician saying all the fallacies and all the errors of the government or the regime at this stage, and pointing out all the money they steal and pointing out all the things they do wrong, the government can then say, it's like, oh, well, that you're saying, that is
instigating him.
Yeah, it's like pass interference in the NFL. Like, they can't really define it, but like every once in a while, they're like, "Oh, I felt like that was it," and it can really like it can cost you a game. Yeah, man. I think like what that really reminds me a lot of when this whole pandemic response started happening, and there was the idea of like you have to wear a mask. Like, I get it. Like, I'm there. I wear my mask. I think it's the right thing to do because it's transmission. But I think that there has to be the understanding that we're allowing the government to tell us what to put on our face, like what we have to wear before we go somewhere. And, it's just a mask, right? But that's how it starts, dude. Like that's the type of thing where when you set that precedent, then it just becomes normalized. And there's now laws that can back it up, or they can now enforce it with, hey, you got to wear, a T-shirt with our president on it because of it falls under the explanation of the mask law or whatever. Like, that's a huge exaggeration. But yeah. I think just because, and that's what bothers me about everything that goes on. I feel like everything has to be one way or the other. Everyone's got to be jumped on one boat or the other with any lack of understanding of the other side. And that's that, like, I think you can wear a mask, but you still need to have in your mind, be like, I'm doing this because the government's telling me to do this. Like, you need to have that like in the back of your mind and that understanding. And you can do that. And there's others that are like, I'm not wearing a mask because I don't want the government to tell me what to do. But I also understand that that's a selfish act in the sense that you're also making it more transmissible. It's not actually, masks do more for others than it does for you. So, but I totally understand that part, Stevie and I being Cuban, like, oh yeah, bro, like, they talk about it like, hey man, the government wants to tell me when to do something. No way. Like, this is, my parents are flipping right now. Flipping right now. And it gets me nervous. And I see it too. It helps give me perspective on like how scary it is to have that, control being dealt out. Like, yo, restaurants, you can't be open right now. Why? Because of COVID. But what does it look like 5 years from now when they can classify a certain amount of businesses as like, I don't know, essential, non-essential, and they limit it for some other reason. And then the government can just control what businesses can run and can't run.
I would be a hypocrite to say that I didn't support the people's right to like not wear a mask because it is infringing in their freedom. And I'm sort of on that boat. But the way that I look at it is that it should be something that people do voluntarily, but they still do it because the culture is pushing them that way.
Right.
And what's sad is that yes, you need that freedom, but you would hope, because like that's the way I think it. Like even if it's not required for me to wear it, like I'll wear it. Here and where I live is required by law. Here you have less rights, right? So I totally understand how that infringes on your freedom, but you would hope that the culture would still do it, right? And sort of have your perspective on it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I want to do it because I want to protect myself and others, not because the government is telling me. I think that should be the case, but it shouldn't be like I'm not gonna wear it to prove to everybody that my rights matter. It's like, okay, just wear it and that's it.
Just wear it, bro, please. Yeah, there's like this common sense, common community sense that's not. It's not there. It's not there. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see elderly people in the bus, right? Like the right thing to do would be to just get up and let them sit down. You know what I'm saying? Like there is no law, there is no rule that you must, but you should. You know what I'm saying? Because that doesn't do anybody harm. It actually does somebody good, and people don't want to do good as much as I would think that they should. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know where we're going with this, and I feel you on the Cuban culture, like, bro, like,
are your parents tell me right now? They're like, oh, it's starting in a
Cuba right bro, now. Go to my mom's Facebook page. It's a fucking Trump rally, dude.
I can't do Facebook right now, man. I saw it's November. It's a COVID thing. Oh man, I post for my business and then I dip. Like I just don't.
Yeah, get out while you can, dude. What are you like, the only Republican in California?
There's like that's the thing. Like I for me, I'm like you would. Because I don't like Trump either, like in a lot of ways, but I'm also one to be like, yo, there's some things that he's done that like, yo, he said he was going to do something in certain aspects. He did. There's things that he didn't and he didn't. And that's its argument there. And I think there's just, I don't know. And like the fact that I just want to think like that, like, yo, let's think about what's going well, what's not going well. And then same thing with Obama. Like I watch YouTube videos of that guy. I'm like, man, I miss somebody being able to talk like that. You know what I'm saying? Like just be able to just like be professional, be an adult about situations. I miss that, but let's also have conversations about what maybe we don't like about, what they did and things like that. But now out here, dog.
Well, in a past podcast, we were actually having this exact conversation, and we thought like, wouldn't it be great to have somebody with the tenacity or, call to action that Trump has, but with the ethics and of diplomacy and speech skills that Obama had, and then we were like, yeah, but then that would mean the country would run great, and then what fun would there be, but but it's fucked, right?
Like, that's why Trump is president, dog. I think people were just bored at a certain point. Like he was so entertaining. Those primaries, yo, if you want to look back, that's some good comedy right there, for real. Just go and watch the Republican, the primaries for the Republicans. Yo, Trump was on point, man. He was hilarious. He was fun to watch, man. There's no doubt about that. Does that make you a good president? Probably not. But I mean, man, like everyone, I felt like people confused the primaries with America's Got Talent. And they're like, I want to see this guy for another round.
They put him at the same time.
Vote him in.
They switched it out on people. People didn't even notice. Mm-hmm. Like, what up? Is Trump in Dancing with the Stars, or this is for presidency? Oh fuck! Oh shit! No, but I mean, I kind of like him still. You know what's great? You know what's crazy, dude? Recently, I told Steven to watch it, and I think you'll enjoy it too. Recently, the president gave his first interview, like to sort of for the re-election, and he did it with a guy called Dave Portnoy, which is from Barstool Sports, right? I didn't know the guy too much, but I've gotten to know his work a bit more. But dude, it was a really funny interview. You can see how this guy just says whatever he wants. And what I was telling Steven is like, at least whatever he says and does, like that's him. Whatever bad it is like that's all you're gonna get from that individual. But bro, he would say things like answering a question like, oh, what about your tweets? You're always tweeting and shit. And he's like, yeah, I love the tweets. I love it. I put them out. And sometimes, I want to get them back, but they're out there already. And, back in the day, you used to write a letter and then the next day you would read it again and then you'll find if you send it or not. But here you just send it. And, it kind of like admitting like, hey, sometimes I get impulsive and it's just like, really, that's the president. Like he could he could talk like I'm talking on my podcast about shit. Like, yeah, dude, that podcast, I probably said some shit I shouldn't have said, right? Like, that's not the same attitude you want on a president. Like, did I tweet the correct things?
But I mean, at the end of the day, too, like what do we expect from our president? Like, and I'm not talking Trump, I'm not talking Obama, I'm talking just in general. Like, what do we expect from a president? You know what I'm saying? Like, you had Bill Clinton, who had an affair in the White House. You got Nixon, who got greedy and was doing, figuring out the whole thing.
Yeah, he was stealing secrets from Watergate there, from the Democratic
convention.
Yeah, convention.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, we are not a perfect human race, and we're not a perfect country, and we're just not. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we're dealing with right now. And he said this, he did this, he said this, and he hasn't done this. And we got to keep that across the board. Like, we can't just sit here and put on the news that Trump is the worst president ever when there's, I mean, we're throwing stones in a glass house here with everybody else who's been in office too. I mean, there's better and worse, obviously, but that's all objective. That's just, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to get political, but Trump isn't being nice at all or humble in the fact of this coronavirus. He's getting rid of people who are against opening up the country, like Fauci or whatever, right? But then you have people on the other side where it's like, well, Obama, he doesn't want immigrants here. People are saying that Trump doesn't want immigrants here, right? But nobody's talking about the most deported amount of people were during the Obama era. So it's like, dude, like, why are we? You just want to?
Yeah, well, the thing is,
holes in the story.
Thing is that
you know what I mean?
All the other politicians in the past, they held the little charade, right? Like the little front that they were good, and then you discover all the dirty shit they did. With Trump, what I was saying is, like you just described it. Whatever you see is how he is, but there's no secret. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have secrets, but I'm saying, like, the way he acts, he spews it all out. He cannot hold it in. If he has if he has plans and shit, that he just says it because he loves that shit. He loves just saying it. He cannot stop himself from saying all this shit. He's a president. He has people that tell him how to speak, and he still cannot hold himself from saying the shit he says. So for people, it's a lot easier to see someone like Clinton and be like, or Obama, and be like, oh, the way they speak. I mean, Clinton, I wouldn't say was amazing, but like, oh, look, they're presidential looking. They talk and they do things that correctly, which is the minimum that you would expect from a president. So I do understand why people don't like the look of Trump. But then, is it better if it's like that in the front, but in the back is a bunch of dirty secrets and bullshit that's going on? So I guess you're playing with the looks of it, but you really got to look at the facts. Like, who's really the lesser of evils here?
Yeah, it reminds me of, like, when you go to like a good restaurant, and then there's Waffle House. Why I like Waffle House is, like, it's not great, but they don't pretend like they're great. They make it in front of you. They're like, they got them dirty ass waffle cookers in the back. They still got butter from like 5 years ago. But you're like, you know what? They're doing it right in front of me. I know they're not spitting in it. And they're just giving me my waffles. And I know it's not great, but I know what I signed up for. Whereas, like, anyone that's worked at a restaurant, like a classic restaurant where the kitchen's in the back, we're like, it's nice here. See how it's fantastic here. We got nice seating, the lighting, amazing. How are you doing today? How's everyone's meals coming along? But in the back, it's just like, in the kitchen, it's just like, it's just a cluster.
Like the movie, like the moving waiting and shit.
Yeah, it's just more gross.
You have Armando and Rodrigo in the back jerking off on the fucking marinara sauce.
It's a mess back there, man. So, like, I think like Trump was Waffle House, and then, like, Obama is like, maybe, like, I don't know, like a really nice IHOP.
Chipotle when they got like E. coli, that's like the Clintons, and then Waffle House is like, this is me, bro. This is what I got, and I'm going in. Hold my beer. I'm going in.
Right?
Like, oh, but what about, like, grabbing them by the pussy? Waffle House, Yeah. It is what it is.
Did you want me to put the chocolate chips like this on it? Like, yeah, like that, bro. I know what you're doing right now. I see what you're doing. I see that's how you sprayed your waffle can. Yeah.
Fucking Salt Bay, the goddamn chocolate chips on the pancakes.
I think it does highlight, man, but like what you brought up, Kiko, really just highlights the idea that we are like such a sucker to appearances. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing about like these presidents. Like that's why I don't trust Obama. I'm like, he is so smooth. He's
too smooth.
Oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? Like when people say, like, do you know Obama? You know, like I don't know, like he sucked all the ocean water out and gave it to Mars. You'd be like, he did do that. He did do that. I bet you he did. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Trump, like you said, like he can't hold anything back. He's probably the first president of all time. They didn't tell him about Area 51. Like, don't tell him about it. Listen, if you tell him about Area 51, everyone's gonna know about Area 51. We've been working really hard to keep this a secret. You know, because he's gonna live stream that mofo. Like the second they get to Nevada,
we got the best spaceships. The best. We got the best. My guys helped them with it. I had to call him. Fauci came. He gave his opinion. He's a good guy, but you know, I needed another opinion. So you know, Fauci. He said that on the interview, bro. They asked him about Fauci. He's like, you know, he's a great guy. I wish him well. But you know, sometimes as the president, they give you an opinion. You don't like it, you need to find another one. You know, that's what I do. I got the best.
That is scary that he's like just getting himself a bunch of yes men about it.
Yeah.
I think that's not good. I don't think that's good.
That's not good. Not good. No.
I don't think so either.
I actually, my political ideology these days are really, I don't know if I'm much of a Trump supporter as much as I am a non, like I really just don't want any more socialist, communist, like ideologies in this country. Like that, like I feel like we have China way too much in our entertainment industry, like whether that's done good or bad, whether it's brought money in or not, like we're keeping our enemies like hella close, you know what I mean? And we're humans. Like at what point does somebody just name a price and now that person who we think is whoever they are actually bought out by someone else, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if they come in talking smooth, we're gonna bite it hook, line, and sinker.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like,
you think
I would rather drain the swamp. Like, and I'm only just saying it because it's the talk of it's the thing that makes sense. Like, why don't we just get rid of everybody every 10 years? You know what I mean? But
Steven, when you talk about like draining the swamp, and the way that I look at it as well is like cutting off the fat in the government and all the BS. Don't you think? And do you guys have this division in your mind where I'm really more of a libertarian than really someone from the right or Republican? But it's sort of like in the US, the only thing you got is Republican. Because the way that I look at it is like fiscally, I'm all about small government, free market, and private businesses, small private business flourishing. But then on the social side, it's like, I don't care if you know, people get married in the same sex. I don't care if you do abortion, but that's, you know, me. Like I'm very on the left side of social issues. And when I was younger and I was starting to become fiscally conservative, because I started getting taxed on my, working at a pizzeria, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where's all my money? What? You know, and I started realizing what the fuck was going on. I started to become very fiscally conservative, but my social ideas never changed. Like I was still like, so I was just like, what am I? And then later on, I find out there's something called libertarian, and you don't care about what other people do. So if you want to get married, that's your thing. I don't give a fuck. It's not because I want to support you, even. It's because I don't give a fuck. Like that's what you do in your private time, and that's cool with me. So do you guys have that division where it's like, because I'm not religious, I'm not Christian, I'm not. I don't hold a lot of the values that you can see in the Republican side, on the conservative family social side, which family is important. But in general, do you guys have that debate, or do you sort of lie correctly in that side?
Yeah, I'm right there with you in regards to like socially, like I'm very, the term would be liberal. And then when it comes to financial, I have my own business here. Like I have an LLC that I formed here in California. It's $800 a year. Whereas like in most other states, to get like an LLC tax plus all these other taxes, that once Cali knows you want to start a business, or you got money, they're like, yo, what's up? Hey, what's up? Sign here, send your checks here. Like you feel it, man. They're just like, they're on you. Like and they even have, I tell you what, that city of LA, once I made like a business name, they sent me this false tax almost. Like it's a tax that they asked for $10,000, and I didn't have to pay it. But if I didn't have like an accountant look at that, I would have ended up having to look into trying to pay that. I wouldn't have been able to, but like, it would have been something where it's like, like how many, like that's what LA does. Like they'll tell you, oh, you have a business in LA.
They try to swindle you for
they sent it, and then your accountant
I show my account, like, this is from the city. She's like, yeah. And she's like, you don't have to pay that. You don't have to pay that.
What the F?
Yeah, for real. That's 100%.
Hey, dude, I can imagine like Eric calling the tax the tax department, right? It's like, hey, I got this letter here, right? And he charged me 10,000, but I'm being told I don't have to pay. What is like? Oh no, yeah, you don't have to pay. So why you sent it? Oh, it must have been an error. Really? He's like, yeah, we're testing you, motherfucker. What's good? All right.
Not even, dog, because you would have called them and it would have gone to a machine and no one would have picked up. That's what pisses you off the most. To be like, I almost paid $10,000 to not get help. Like that's what it feels like out here, man. And then when I moved I tell the story all the time. When I moved from Florida to here, I bought a car in Florida right before I drove out here. So it was like 2 months old when I got here, and I go to register it here at the California DMV. And they're like, oh, is this a new car? They didn't, dog. They told me nothing. They're like, yo, is this a new car? I'm like, yeah. How long have you owned it? Just a couple of months. Fantastic. Coming from Florida. What's the sales tax there? 7. All right. Well, it's 9 here. So you owe us the 2% difference on your brand new car. And so I ended up, instead of going in to pay like a registration fee of a few $100s, which is what it is out here, it's thousands, because I had to pay the tax sales. I had to sell the income difference from one state to the other.
Oh my God.
Cali,
fucking hybrid right into their fucking
bad hybrid that they wanted me to still smog test, dog. They still wanted me to smog test the hybrid, dude.
Bro, you know what's crazy? They're taxing you on your past.
Yeah,
bro.
That's like another level. Like, I've heard shit about Cali, like about how like he's super hard on the businessman, but also on the workers. They get taxed a shitload, and that's insane, bro.
That's they're coming from Florida where there's no state tax. Here there is a state tax, and then LA there's a city tax for a lot of things. Yeah, dog, it's unreal. So yeah, when it comes to like being financially conservative out here, yeah, that's like a no-brainer out here. Like because when you come out here and you still see that nothing works, that I gotta the DMV is the DMV, like it is, but like there's so many, like the school systems are like that, and yeah, so I get really upset behind that idea of well, if I feel this way about social issues but that conservative issue, that I still got to click select all, like when you unsubscribe from a mailing list, like, I hit this one checkbox. So now I got to subscribe to all of the ideas. Like, that's ridiculous, bro. I can't be living like that. But for some reason, like, that's just the way, our news reinforces it, the idea, like there's one side or the other. And I feel that conflict out here all the time. And I feel like I'm an outsider, because I always feel like I'm having the conversation of like, listen, you're right about this, but maybe they have ideas on that side about this thing, and then vice versa. But ain't nobody.
So would you say over there it's very liberal?
When it comes to social issues, everyone is definitely like that out here. And I'm right with them on that. And that's fantastic. But yeah, I would still say like you'll see a lot of, like when it comes to like, yeah, it's a blue state. You'll see Bernie signs everywhere and all that.
No, because I'm saying like, even like, or maybe the people that really support this don't know about taxation, but like most people have a job and they see how much taxes they get taken. So you would think that, that would lead you to, to like, I remember I used to be very, very fiscally left too. I won't say liberal because in some definitions, like in Europe, liberal means the other opposite. But
how about that?
And then when I started working and I saw the taxes, I'm like, this motherfucker's taking a third of this shit. Like, what am I doing? Like, did you work with me, dog? Did you fucking flip those pizzas with me? Like,
yeah. I think it's just normal out here, especially when you have that. And then when you see people, I think those are people that do have jobs, but I can't think of many business owners that I know out here that are, liberal or to the left when it comes to fiscal responsibility. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that when they really understand, like, I'm trying to create jobs for people, I'm trying to do all these things, and you're telling me like I when you're trying to make your first hire, you know what I'm saying, like the amount of barriers, you know what I'm saying, and it's just like, yo, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys say you want to help the people, I'm trying to create this opportunity and it's going to help everyone involved, but they're like, well, you got to fill out this form, you got to pay this tax, you got to You know,
it's like that. It's as if they didn't want you to hire the person. You know, the same thing happens, but with the housing in Spain, where like they have very social laws, where like if you cannot pay and you have kids, or even if you don't have kids, like and you stop paying your landlord, like to get you out of the house is like a fucking mission that takes years, right? So what ends up happening is that now I'm trying to move to a better place with my girl. We both have stable jobs, but the amount of things that they require as prerequisites for you to be able to rent a property is so high because the owner is trying to defend himself from you being like, hey, I can't pay this shit. And then it takes years. And if you have kids, then forget about it. Like it's going to, the laws come in. And I remember this happens in Venezuela too. And what ends up happening is that people like me that are poor, I'm still trying to fucking grow. I cannot move because the person is asking me for a place that costs $1,000 for me to make $10,000 a month, right? Which doesn't make sense. And it's like, but they're like, no, I need to like sort of cover myself. So what ends up happening is that the very people that you're trying to help by making it, like they're the ones fucked because they cannot find a job. A place to rent. And the good way to work it is, have the police and the rights be very clear. And if somebody cannot, pay, they have few days, 30 days to leave the place, like in the US it's a lot more strict. But what happens is that whenever I get a job and I start working in life, I can get a place easy. The guy's not gonna tell me like, oh, you work in McDonald's with a 6-month contract. No, I'm not gonna rent you anything. He's gonna be like, yeah, I'll rent it. And if 6 months you cannot pay, I know I can get you out and get somebody else. And as a worker in the bottom, you want that freedom. You want to make sure that those things are available to you. Just like when you're trying to hire people, the worker would like it for it to be very easy for you to hire him instead of being like, damn, should I risk it? No, it should be easy. But at the same time, it should be easy for you to fire them if they're not doing their job correctly. But it makes it a better dynamic than having this shit where everybody's protecting themselves. And at the end, the ones that are fucked, well, it's everybody. Everybody loses in that transaction.
That's the thing. That's, going back to when we think about like appearances, like there's certain things like, because what's the headline, right? Like, this politician kept families from being kicked out of their homes or evicted with their kids. Family of 4 is able to keep living. And that sounds good. That's a nice story when you hear like that kid living. But when you think about what it is that you're doing to get that done, ultimately you're not helping that family or anyone and all the other families that are now, because that's ultimately what happens. Everyone else has to start, sacrificing for that family, which if we were going back to like laws versus social nature, like socially in an ideal world, we all be able to do that. But when you start putting laws in place, then what you're doing is you're making things essentially worse, actually, is what you're trying to do. And that's what I think makes politics tough, especially like the way that we choose our politicians. And I know we're about to wrap up here, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think ultimately too is that
don't worry, actually. But, let it flow. I'm good. Steven, if you're good, I don't mind.
No, yeah, I'm fine. I just switched the memory card. No worries.
Nice.
Okay. Continue because you're hitting a very interesting point here.
We hire politicians that like their job is like to get into the market. You have to start begging for money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really what the job is of a politician. You gotta start meeting with people who can finance you. I mean, that's what makes it so attractive when you see a politician that is self-made, and they can finance their own. Like, oh, okay, right off the bat, we know they don't know nobody. And I think that's the thing about what's interesting to analyze about politicians, like the president, man, like Trump, where I think there's a value in the idea of making tough decisions that don't sound good. And what sucks about Trump is he's really bad about like making it look, he makes them look worse. You know what I'm saying? It's bad enough that he's making tough decisions that, maybe he sees like an end goal, or maybe God knows why he's doing it. I really don't understand that guy's head. I feel like it's a whirlwind in there, but there's certain things that he does. I'm like, what he's doing right now is you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that can make that decision because the headline looks bad.
Yeah. Now, don't you think that that's one of the main problems with the government is that they have these incentives to sort of pass laws that make it easier for certain companies to do business, which I think is completely against capitalism. Like that's some straight up corruption shit. Like the whole lobbying thing, it's insane to me that that's legal. I mean, it still happens in other countries, but it's, in the background. In the US, it's legalized. I'm not sure if that's better or worse, that you can see it clearly. But I think the problem with all this lies in the incentives. And, talking about these regulations with hiring, right? If you regulate hiring a lot, then there's going to be less people that are hired. If you regulate housing a lot, then there's going to be, and when I say regulate in the sense where like you give a lot of freedoms to the person staying rather than the owner and don't protect their private property, then you have that situation. And I also see that happening in the price of salaries, right? Like the minimum wage. I'm a believer that the minimum wage shouldn't exist, and that it actually limits the amount of people that can get a first job and start acquiring their first skills to then keep growing in the marketplace. And I understand why it's hard to see it that way, because people hear it. It's like, oh, I want them to have a better salary. Yeah, of course, that sounds good. But unfortunately, life doesn't have solutions. It really has trade-offs. You have limited resources and you need to sort of see what's the best choice. Like the norm is to be poor. For thousands and thousands of years, everyone was poor. You raised your own crops and you killed your own thing and you ate, and that was the goal of the day, to eat. So 200 years ago, we actually found ways to collect and hoard these resources, right? And in a lot of cases, when you hoard these resources, it only makes sense to reinvest it in the society to keep growing. So even as someone that's greedy in a free market where nobody has the benefit of having a law from the government passed, that wouldn't be capitalist or a free market. But in a real free market, even the people that get rich need to continue to invest in the own economic system they're at, and that benefits everybody, right? Just like Bill Gates became a billionaire, but now we all have Windows and we can do this podcast in 3 different time zones in the world, and that can provide us with benefits ourselves. Or if I create the cure for cancer and sell it for $20, I'm gonna become a billionaire. But who won in that trade-off? Humanity or the billionaire? So what do you think? I'm curious to know how you see the minimum wage law, and what do you think about it? Should it exist or should it not exist?
Did you understand, or have you heard of this topic before?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, no, I think what you're saying, like I've heard that argument be made quite well. Like the idea that when you have that minimum wage, what you're essentially doing is you're eliminating the ability for people to get their first job or those low level jobs. And what I think what it goes to show is where it creates right now, what makes it tougher to even break away from that now is, like, especially here in LA right now, if you told everyone, okay, there's no minimum wage, and then all that wages drop, there's a lot of people who just can't pay rent anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that are going to have that. So there's like this system that's now set up where people are expecting a certain amount of money, they can't get it. And so like it does make it tougher to enact that. And I don't know enough about economics to know whether or not having a minimum wage of any degree is right or wrong. I really don't know, because I know that there's also been abuses on other sides. Like I've seen where like that can go on to the other side where, like, you're essentially creating slave labor at a certain point. And I don't know. Like I'm one to like I don't. Yeah, that's a tough decision. I can understand where that's certainly the right thing to do, and I understand where people would be upset about hearing. I think that's a great example though that everyone can relate to, where it's like, let's think about like what sounds good versus what ultimately is going to be best for everyone to start prospering.
Well, in by definition, and this has been proven, when you have a minimum wage applied in a place, or whenever a minimum wage is raised in a place, unemployment also rises. And it makes sense. You have a certain amount of jobs, and if now you have to pay more, businesses are not just going to be like, all right, I guess I got to pay them more and I cannot hoard as much rich. But it's not that. You end up saying, okay, if I pay these guys $10 an hour each, right? And, they're not the best servers, but they're learning. And, I got 3 of them, right? So I spent $30 an hour on these three guys, right? But now they're telling me, no, in the city you live in, the minimum wage is 15 now. All right, so I'm not going to have 3 of them. I'm only going to have 2. And probably neither of those 3. I'm probably going to have to hire 2 other servers that are more experienced and that can cover the same amount of work that those 3 younger, less experienced ones did. So what ends up happening is, like, that idea that if you don't have a minimum wage, the companies are gonna be like, all right, then I'll pay you 3 cents an hour, and you're gonna be a slave. It's like, well, then you're not gonna work for them. You're gonna at the end of the day, like,
I've heard
there's
that
a certain
product.
there's a certain income that you're gonna get from producing this. But if you don't have the workers doing the bits and pieces for it, you're not gonna make money. So, and there's gonna be other companies that also need those workers. So at the end of the day, the workers are also a scarce resource, right? Work labor is a scarce resource. And one thing that I can tell you how this works, and this happened also in the US at one point. In Venezuela, you have a minimum wage, but because you have such high inflation, the minimum wage becomes totally irrelevant a second after it gets raised, right? Because inflation is so high that if $2,000 is a good minimum wage a month, but you have prices going up 100% every month, then that minimum wage is gonna only allow you to, buy a hot dog, right? So you're not gonna work for anybody for that minimum wage. And the companies cannot pay anybody that minimum wage, even if the law says it, because people are like, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna stay home. That's not even gonna cover my transport. So why the fuck am I gonna come? So then people get paid a lot more than the minimum wage. Does that mean that they get paid really good? Well, yeah, in paper, but they're still poor, but they get paid what the market pays for that labor. And that labor is a lot more than what the minimum wage says, because inflation has taken that value up. So that same concept is the same concept that happened, for example, in the US in the 1940s. People started becoming richer and getting more jobs because there was an inflation that made the minimum wage irrelevant. So now people that couldn't get jobs before because they didn't have enough skills to be paid the minimum wage, now there was no minimum wage in practice, right? Because inflation was so high that nobody was paying the minimum wage because nobody would work for that minimum wage. It was too low. I'm actually more in favor to switch this and take it to a positive side or a solution side. I'm more for not a minimum wage, but a living wage. And the way that works is, I prefer that everybody just does their part in society. But if we're gonna keep it social, which you cannot really go too far from what you have here, you cannot take off the whole social system and welfare and take it off because it's impossible to dial it back. But what you could do is, instead of obligating companies to pay a minimum wage, don't have a minimum wage, and then whoever makes less than the living wage, which could be the minimum wage number, then the government subsidizes to make up what's that difference. And we're still paying it somehow because it's taxes, but at least you're not hindering the local commerce where, maybe there's a guy that's a mechanic and they can have a guy sort of open the gate when cars come, but it's a very simple task. But he could have like a 15-year-old kid that later is going to learn about me. But before, I couldn't hire him because if I cannot pay him $15 an hour, but if I can pay him 10 and then the government pays the other 5, we're not sort of destroying the market, and we're still providing that person with the extra money that they might need to pay the basic bills.
Yeah, but typically the way a tax is done for something like that is they'll tax like the businesses on it. Like, you're just going to lose more on whatever revenue you would generate and like any profit that you would make. So I think that still just puts you in the same situation, because then, yeah, you can hire someone for cheaper, but now your profit margins have just been cut because there's more taxes for it. And when you think about, like, you brought up a great point where the idea of like no one's going to work for like a low amount of money. Like in today's world where there's like 15 job search apps you can download right now that work well, like I think that a law that was made 100 years ago before technology could really enforce the fact that like, people need to be paid a fair amount. And then now people can self-enforce that by just pitting the market against itself, because there is the issue of quality too. Like, how many stars are you going to drop by hiring someone for 20 cents per hour when the person who's competing against you is paying a little bit more for labor, getting a better quality, and then that shows up on Yelp or something like that. And then the employees are also going to see on Glassdoor.com, like, the person across the street is paying us X amount more. I think that with, the way that technology is today, I think it is easier to, have just a straight up, like, no minimum wage. Like, that could be pulled off a lot better than I can see why they would have it back in the day.
Right. It was people have to really go out of their way to research and go and find and do all this stuff. Now it's all at the tip of your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be like 1 mill in town or something.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
No, and that's great because that makes it so that now the workers also have a way to be competitive because they have more information about the companies. And look, this is funny that you're saying this because I was thinking about a perfect example. The regular sort of job hours that the US has and then was adopted across the world, where you work Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. People think that was instated by like social programs or social activism so that it could bring like laws to workers, but it really wasn't. It was actually done by Henry Ford, right? When Henry Ford created vehicles and he created the place, like the factories, right? He created such a perfect chain system that you could have anybody do it. Like, it was simple. He had the perfect formula, and there was so much margin for making money on it that he's like, I could even pay these workers really good, and I'm still gonna make a lot of money because the formula is so perfect. So what he thought is like, why don't I overpay them, pay them a lot more than what they're getting at any other factory, give them some really good conditions, and that way I'm gonna get the best workers in the city. Because even though these are simple tasks of just attaching things or whatever, I do need them to do it perfectly. So what ended up happening is, as an inventor, I need really good workers to operate this factory, and because of that, I'm gonna be the best I'm gonna be the competition and offer them the most. So that's what drives these prices up. It's not. I mean, not to bash on it. Like, I also want the good things to happen, but I just understand that these things cannot be accomplished by simply thinking well and like, oh, I want everybody to, like, it comes from somewhere. Money comes from somewhere. Government doesn't have a company. They don't sell dildos online. They don't make money. They just distribute it, right?
Yeah, they don't make nothing. And I do got to bounce, boys, but you got this.
It's been real.
It's been real, man. I really enjoy this. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored, and this has been a blast. And just keep up all the awesome stuff y'all are doing, man. If you ever need me, hit me up. I got you.
Thanks,
sure, man.
And we really appreciated you coming onto the podcast today. We hope our viewers enjoyed it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And say hi to Megan for us.
All right.
All right,
man. Take care, bro.
See you guys.
See you, man. And
oh shit, that was pretty cool. He just leaves, and then he's
and then that's it.
He
didn't even slam the door behind him.
You saying bye to me too?
He didn't even slam the door behind him. And then there was one.
No, but let's let
good.
Sorry.
No. The camera is rolling. I put in another memory card that's twice the size, and apparently it's full. So I had another 15 minutes on this new memory card.
No problem. So, I'm filming also on the webcam. I just want to finish this thought, and we're good to go. What do you think about the minimum wage?
No, I mean, all of our conversations that we've had before, I do agree, and Eric brought up a good point today. I think we're a little bit, we've got a lot more information in our hands. I think the minimum wage shouldn't. I think there should be either a cap on a minimum wage, or actually, if I don't really know too much on the logistics, but your living wage sounds good. If there's ever a socialist program that I would probably be okay with, is the fact that I would pay part of my taxes to people who are working, who don't make enough money. I'd rather give money to somebody who's trying to make enough money but can't, than somebody who's not making money.
And the important part is you switch the incentives for them to make sense now. Because I never can bash somebody that's working and trying, even if they have a shitty job. Like, I'm sure he wants a better one, but he's waking every day and fucking going. Like, I cannot bash on that guy. I'll help him.
Yeah, exactly.
But you change the incentive, right? Like, now that guy wants to get a job, and we will help you if we see that you want to help yourself.
Exactly, and that's pretty much it. I mean, if we can switch minimum wage over to something called the living wage, and tax all Americans, to a degree that all those people who are I mean, I don't know if that would incentivize companies to do that, but also maybe put in something that's like, well, if companies are not going to pay their employees enough to live, and they're just saying, oh well, there should be like a ratio or a percentage of tax paid by the company too, so that slope doesn't start dropping off on that end. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, now that you said that, I am thinking now of like how pieces of shit are gonna try to fuck around. Well, not just companies, like imagine, companies and workers, like, but yeah, you're right. Like, what if the company tells you, look, you're gonna make like the living wage is 2,000, right? And I can pay you 2,000, but instead I'm gonna pay you 1,500, and then you're gonna ask the government for the other 500. And it seems like you could fucking do this fraud quite easily. So I'm sorry, guys. You almost got me. You almost got me. But no, everybody pull yourself from your bootstraps, shut the fuck up, and go out there and get it. God damn it. Get the handle.
Where's my goddamn handle?
I want a handle of liquor right here. I'll tell you something right here, right now. If you cannot work for yourself, if there's people taking their jobs out there, get the handle.
Don't do that. That's a bad idea.
They don't do. They almost got me. They almost got me.
But I like the idea. Maybe
it's a good exercise though. Good exercise.
Yeah, it's a good exercise. Yeah, I feel stretched out now. I feel good.
But doesn't that show how pure we are? How real that we were going in this? Okay. So it's a social okay, and then you're like, all right.
Can there be a political Broskiedoodles party? The Broskiedoodles party. Yeah, the Republicans, the Democrats, the Libertarians, and the Broskiedoodlers.
And we're like, we'll be smart about it, like PR wise. Like we'll go for all the demographics, right? Like, like we'll talk to the Latino
rallies.
We'll talk to the Black community, to the white. I'll be like, hey man, like, it's cool. You didn't do it. It wasn't you. It wasn't you. I get it. You go around people. You tell everybody it's cool. The white people in his eye. I got the handles too. I got the handles. You tell the Cuban,
get a handle on it.
You got a handle on it. You tell the Cubans in Florida, like, yeah, we're gonna take out all those communists in Cuba and Venezuela. I got you. All right, cool, man. If you move it like a fucking artist, like Kardashian, get the Kardashian PR people. To move.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like.
Exactly.
I'm for abortion and against it. Oh, fuck. They tricked us. What are you talking about? I'm actually for abortion postpartum. What does that mean? If he's 12 and a little fucker came out bad, fucking.
Oh, my God. No.
You go for all demographics. Diversify your ideas.
There you go.
Okay,
oh, man.
Wear a rubber? Don't wear a rubber. Get gonorrhea and then learn maybe for once and for all.
I'm pro gonorrhea for educational purposes.
Yeah, I'm pro gonorrhea for the growth and progress of this nation.
Sorry, I thought you said the growth and irritation.
That too. The diversification of STDs that your dick has seen.
Oh man, I think this 2 hours and 17 minutes has really done a number on the Broskiedoodle.
All words matter.
All words matter.
All crap
all
matter.
viewers.
All viewers matter.
And all viewers matter. Thank you for tuning into this Broskiedoodles podcast. This has been really fun. Kiko, thank you for another beautiful, long, entertaining, educating episode. Stevie D here signing out. Until next week, guys. Thank you so much.
Peace.